You're a saber talker. Listening to saber talkers makes me thirsty.
Welcome, Saber friends, custom Saber builders, Saberinos. We're here tonight with a special show discussing actually the background and like what goes on behind the scenes about making a custom lightsaber and some details and stuff like that with JBKuma. Let's bring in the first friend from Civilized Sabers. We have Harris here joining us.
Which on your Star Wars lightsabers? Where's your ending? Go! I got it! Me too! Zap, zap, zap!
What's going on, Harris? I almost forgot.
Saber up, baby. Saber up.
It's time to saber up. Wield them if you got them. Get your
What's
drinks
up, my
out.
friend?
We are going to talk about some upcoming stuff that we have going on at Civilized Sabers, talk about some of the background of like what goes into a lightsaber. Like, for instance, Harris, if you recognize this, this is one of our shorties from our upcoming shorty run. And JBKuma is designing the insides.
Doing our chassis.
Of this whole, this is going to be like a leather wrapped hilt with neopixel tri-star blade, but it's going to be like a Shoto, like a one-handed lightsaber. I think JB is joining us. Let's see if he's in the back room. Going to bring JBKuma in from the Mad Science Workshop.
I'm sensing a powerful mind.
JBKuma, are you there? We need help over at Civilized Sabers.
Yeah, I just gotta take myself off of mute.
He was in signal. He was canceling his signal to avoid being overheard by the Empire.
That's correct.
Jake Suff said, "Ooh, it's on." What's going on, buddy? Jeremy King. Hey guys, how's it going tonight? It's going pretty good. Thank you guys for being here. We're talking about custom lightsabers, kind of like getting into the nitty gritty about what goes into a custom lightsaber. And JBKuma designs all of our stuff over at Civilized Sabers. For instance, like this blade plug chip was like one of the first things. This is version 3. This is, I think, the first thing the Mad Science Workshop made for Civilized Sabers here. Version 1 blade plug chip, and then we have gotten some cool stuff since then. So JB, how are you doing tonight?
Doing great. It's always a beautiful day sitting here in the workshop.
Awesome. I feel the same way. Harris feels the same way. It's a beautiful day when you get to work on your sabers. We worked on his lightsaber all weekend long. We got it operational. He's got a Graflex with a very special chassis that he constructed, and we put a Profi board in that over the weekend. So we had a good time doing that. But yeah, we're just talking about these shorties, and I don't know if it's okay. I'll show some of the pictures of some of the stuff you've sent me if you want to discuss.
Sure. I can even pull up my screen.
That would be cool. Yeah. However you want to do it, I could make your screen bigger. I didn't even show Harris this stuff yet. We were so busy over the weekend, but I had these photos, Harris,
Sure.
of like renders that Jason made for us
Oh, of the chassis.
of the chassis. And like I think I mentioned it to you that he took it to another level. Because we
Okay.
basically had a scribble. We scribbled something on the mirror. I think I scribbled something in my iPad and sent it to him.
Okay.
And then he came up with something that is just going to make the install easy, and it's going to make
Love it.
customer really, really happy because it's going to be like so easy for them to use it too.
Thank you, bro.
Jake Suff says, how do those NeoPixel blade plug chips compare to a traditional tri-cree for brightness?
Like not
best.
even remotely close.
You want
Yeah,
to see one? I
they're
can
not-
put one in real quick.
But the blade chips, they're not meant to compete with the tri-crees. They're just they give you a nice blade plug, and we made them so the latest version 3 can actually handle running a whole blade on them, so you can have some base illumination when you wire up your blade.
Yeah, Jason actually designed a tri-cree comparable NeoPixel, not chip, but a converter, and it's pretty awesome. We showed that in one of our videos maybe a year ago at this point. But yeah, this is where did that shorty just go? Here we go. This is this hilt. Jason showing it of the render that he put together for like the chassis.
Yeah, I think during your last live stream you mentioned doing a leather grip on it.
Yeah.
Then I put the leather grip on it and
so cool.
just kind of played around with it. Like you can see my mouse. This is kind of a custom activation box. It has to be custom to make everything work the way I've been playing around with it. Because the way this isn't all mapped out here, but in order to make this work, so you wanted it to have the switches sort of be integrated into the chassis. So I figured out in my head a way to do it, but so the switches and some of the mechanics will be integrated into that box, and we'll have like a little PCB that's on the inside. I don't have any of the geometry on the inside of the chassis because we still needed to talk about some of this stuff before I started going crazy.
Yeah.
So then these will work together so that the whole chassis will be fully integrated. So if you took the chassis out, it's still like the whole lightsaber, and the hilt is basically just an empty shell after that. So that's
right. So like the saber will still work when you take the chassis out.
Yeah. Obviously, like the having a blade up to just the pogo pins doesn't really hold it in, but you could do what you wanted to do there. And I know you had originally said to have the front firing speaker. It just, to get everything else to work, especially in the short body, it just doesn't really fit. So like we could slide the battery back further and do something different about the switches, but having the speaker up here, I don't know, it just didn't seem to make much sense, especially if you're going to do a leather wrap. You know what I mean? Because it's like you're going to wrap this with leather, and then I guess you could drill underneath and then have just the leather. But I just kind of took it this way, and I've done.
And like as far as the battery, that's like the 21 size battery.
Yeah, it's a
21700.
So then I went to like a sort of integrated. So you guys can't see some of the stuff that shows up on my screen. So the chassis comes all the way into the pommel with like the pommel cap retained with a charge port, because that was the other question I had, is squeezing in a charge port. But I've done this before where I put a speaker, charge port past the speaker in my, the first 3D thing I ever designed, my first chassis, my first lightsaber. I just went for broken, full custom electronics, 3D designed chassis and everything. So since then, I've always liked doing like just fully integrated chassis. So if I take out this stuff, then so that's basically your chassis, and well, your buttons would stick out of here, and the part that was on the other side, I just made it yellow to differentiate it. It's easier to see when you're looking at all the parts all the time. But so that like this would be the whole chassis, a fully integrated thing, could slip in as a ring to be retained at the top by the emitter.
Mm-hmm.
And then take, so then this would kind of pull out, and then you have sort of mating pins so that you could still get to the SD card in the USB port. So there's your SD and the USB, and then have these pins to connect. So I have 4 pins each for the ground coming from the battery and the one coming back from the charge port, because you'll need that current for the pixel blade. And then only 2 for the positive, because it's only for the charge current. You don't need that much. And then the speaker. So I mean, you don't have to go with this idea. This was just like the concept I came up with.
This right here is the bottom or the top of the saber. That part on the right.
That's the speaker module. So that's all the way in the pommel.
Okay.
So you see, like this is just like the blade.
I like this a lot. I think this is pretty awesome.
Yeah, for the most part, once you have your saber set up, like how many times do you really need to get to the SD card and the USB port? But you'll still have access to it. That'll give it a nice positive connection. And then we'll just style it to hide some of the seam lines and stuff.
Very cool.
But I really like doing the fully integrated hilt, and then this would be inside the emitter. Like that's the emitter there.
I like that.
Yeah.
So that could have like a Civilized Sabers emitter. Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's actually what's on there right now.
Gabe must be here. Civilized Saber says, "What's up, fellas?" Tim McAndrew. What's going on, Tim? Nancy is here. Hey there. Contest winner from Saturday. Welcome. The switches go inside the chassis, Jakesoft says. Like, is the top box just has the plungers?
Yeah, so there's the pogos.
Oh yeah, cool.
So so my idea is I can pull that up. So you guys can't see, but on there's my whole parts list on the left. For some reason, when I share my screen, it doesn't get shared also. So you can see like the switches and this PCB would be inside the saber and retained. And obviously I'd have to modify the switches, but they'd be retained in this part, and I would doctor up the plungers to make it work with this. Obviously they could be illuminated or not illuminated. And if they were illuminated, the LEDs would have to be part of this the base to fire up in there also.
Oh.
we'd have to figure that out. One
I
idea
have some
I had,
switches like that actually, like from eBay that are lighted switches. They're not quite like they have a small base like that, but the plunger is larger than the one
Yeah.
pictured here.
I mean, we could do whatever we want. These are just like 12 millimeter AV switches.
Yeah, those look really,
Another-
really classy.
Another idea I had is this would have to be a little bit different, but instead of having an LED specifically to illuminate that, we could put in a crystal chamber, and the light that lights up the crystal would also light up the switches.
Wow, let's hear what Harris has to say about that. Harris, I muted you because we could hear your sanding or whatever was going on.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So
I'm sorry. I like crystal chambers.
Yeah. So and we could figure out a way to make it light up just one of the switches, like the crystal chamber, or both, or I don't even know if you want 2 switches. This is just
yeah, I think we do want to.
I've had time to sit here and play with things, so that's what I came up with.
Here's another Civilized Sabers member. Gabe, what's going on?
What's up, guys?
Are you
There we
taking
go.
this in? Are you liking what you're seeing?
Oh my God, that's why I had to jump in here. This is this is crazy. It's amazeballs.
I don't know if Gabe saw the sabers we had here on the counter the other time. I don't know if they were here when you were here last, but there was like 5 or 6 of these shorties. One of them is like slightly longer than the other 5. The other, I think there's 5 or 6 that are the same. And I sent one or two of them to JB to kind of measure up, and that's where he's getting these measurements from to make these designs.
Yeah, and I didn't get to notice them the last time I was there, but
Might have seen, I don't know if you saw if these were here, but this is what it's based off of. MHS parts from the Custom Saber shop, and JB is doing as requested, which is I asked him to let us see some chassis that can slide out. Maybe you undo the belt clip and then the chassis slides out and the whole chassis can work as a unit. And I think it'd make it easy for Harris and myself to be like installing that way, and to, especially with a series of like 5 or 6 of them at a time. So that was the idea.
it's hot.
Yeah.
And I think what JB added, like with that switch box, makes it look like a lightsaber now. Like it looks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like when you said the leather wrap, and I was like, well, how am I going to render the leather wrap? It was pretty easy, actually, but
It looks cool.
Looks great.
yeah.
I like how we can see it like all worked
Yeah.
out that way.
And this is that's an orthographic.
Now, are we planning to leave it like polished aluminum color like that, or have different color ones optional, like powder coated or anything like that, or no?
And like one that I sent Jason, I had already spray painted it and kind of taken some of that paint off to make it like kind of heavily weathered looking. And that's the one that's slightly longer. But yeah, I was thinking like there could be an option for that, or we could do half of them where they look like weathered and the other half clean, and maybe there's even different color leather wraps, because I have different like real leather cowhide from eBay that I've gotten in. They all feel
So
great. Oh yeah, this is the one that's slightly longer. So this is like,
Oh,
This is the only one you had that was like this.
yeah,
so that's almost like so that's just a longer hilt, you're saying?
yeah, it's like got the, I think the 7-inch part or whatever it is, instead of, I forget
think
how I
the
made it,
grips
but
are the
the
same. It's just got the
And is that an option you
Oh, collar,
planning on
maybe.
doing too?
Yeah, that
so it
was
just
gonna
has this part.
I was gonna do that as like a one-off thing, as a series, this like have this be like a series, those shorties, and then this. I think those shorties would look good on the belt, the way JB has it with that belt clip and the buttons and the leather wrap. That would look good on a belt.
Yeah,
Be comfortable to hang on a belt.
it's funny, every time somebody says they're making a really short saber, like this is this shorty, and this is like one of my recent sabers, and it's even smaller.
Even shorter.
And like, well, this cannot be taken apart. It's so fully integrated because all of the electronics are just because
Oh,
there's
wow.
like this. The way I make my lightsabers, you actually have to plug in with a
even
blade
your
drive.
even your Thanos saber wasn't
Oh,
very
that's
long.
super small. Yeah, so like this has lights up in there.
Oh,
I
that's
actually
nice.
never really finished this. This lights up, but there's no LEDs in it at the moment.
Yeah.
But this is one of my favorites because I always wanted to do like the this actually you can't really tell on the camera, but there's like a crystal in the bottom.
Oh, it's
That's
pretty
something-
cool.
Yeah.
Very nice.
So we might just start a fad now. Everyone's gonna want shorties on their belts.
Yeah. I mean, I always carry one of these little blades with me too.
Yeah. That
It's
might
like
be the new style, the new thing with shorties, you know?
Yeah.
That's hilarious. I like it.
Well, it could be, it's like your offhand.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's how I see it. Like that's on the offhand side, and then your actual sabers on your primary side. JC Wenzel, what's going on? Hey guys, nice of you to be here.
Yo, yo.
So I think that's going to work with the that 21700 battery is going to power the TriStar like really well. I think, especially since the TriStar blade will be like a shorter like type of like 21-inch blade. It won't have as many LEDs as like a 32-inch TriStar will have. Like
Yeah, thing's gonna
more
run
like
forever.
yeah.
And this is excuse my ignorance because it's a shorty. Is it a 7-inch blade or this is gonna be regular 1-inch size?
This is the 1-inch size blade.
Yeah, this is
Okay.
a regular TCSS emitter.
Oh, okay.
So you have that girth of the MHS V1. This isn't made up of like the V2, which would be slender.
Yeah, that's what I
Type of
thought.
thing.
Since it was smaller.
Because at least on this render, it doesn't look like the 21 size battery is taking up like as much room as I thought it would. But I guess
Yeah.
that board is really punched up against the wall of the hilt,
Yeah.
though.
There's room. I just want to, you want to make sure that there's clearances. So sometimes things aren't exactly as you hope for, and components aren't placed with micrometer precision. So yeah, it'll all work, and some of this can get moved around. I don't actually have a Profi. This is a model that I made off of because he has his design files that you download off his website, and I use the same electronics package to design my stuff that he uses, and that let me just export a model. So
Oh, cool.
I'm assuming it's going to be the same thing because that's what it was designed off of.
And you guys figure that's going to be a CFX or a Profi or both? Up to the customer.
I told Jason we were going to do maybe Profi in all of these. What do you
Okay.
think?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how I have no idea what size the CFX is. I've never even seen one in person, I don't think, but
I think it's
we'd have to make a
wider.
separate shaft.
Wider than a Profi.
Yeah.
It may not work.
CFX a little bigger, I think.
Yeah, so
it's
that'd
probably
be
like around
really
the
tight
same
then.
length.
I see Jake Sopp's asking about the battery. Well, 18650 is nominally 18 by 65 millimeters. It's actually more like 18.5 by 70 millimeters. So a 21700 is like 21.5 by like 75. So
I think I could probably show you too the difference.
Yeah, I have a bunch of batteries here somewhere. Jake also mentioned while I'm screwing with the switches, might as well put a neopixel in there. I've actually made probably around 100 pixel switches that I've either used in my own projects or sold to other people. They're a real pain in the ass to make though. So I typically
But
only
I
do
don't
it
even know how we
batches.
use that one in this
Yeah.
build because they
No.
wouldn't be able to slide out.
Yeah, this would be I would, I have like hundreds of switches here, and I would just I have a plan on how to hack them apart and make it work.
So this is 18650 style battery. That's a night core that we like to use, and then this is a 21 keep power, I think it is.
Yeah.
So it's really not that much bigger, but it's longer and it's fatter. But just by like, I mean, I guess it's significant because it's like cylindrical and it's probably more than it looks, but it's not like the difference between the 18 and the 26, because the 26 650 is like super, super big. Like a D cell, this one is just wider and a little bit longer.
But it's got like
this
40
holds a
or
lot
50% more capacity. So it's, if you can fit it, that's all. It gives you a lot more runtime.
Yeah, the other times that we've used it, been pretty happy with that style battery. Now, with that chassis that you're showing,
Yeah.
is there like, since it's like made like printed from plastic, right? Like printed from a
Sure.
3D printer?
Yep.
Like, is there, like, I guess I could customize it if I wanted to, like kind of make each one a little different by maybe putting some pipe, like drilling some holes in the sides, maybe
Sure.
LEDs or piping or.
Yeah. So I sent you some renders, and for whatever reason, those didn't save. The ones where I had like all the extra little details, like the conduit and the wire, like exposed wires and stuff. So I don't know why I didn't save, but I don't have a copy of that anymore. And I was starting to work out like the actual interfaces and stuff, so I didn't bother going back to that. But I have a resin printer also. So I was thinking that can take a lot more detail, and it also come out like really smooth. So I was planning on giving it like panel lines and stuff like that. I was also thinking about trying to figure out how to make it so we could cast it in like like make like a rubber mold and cast them, and rather than 3D print each one.
What's the benefit there?
You can use different materials. It may or may not be more durable. It depends on what sort of material you're using. But I've been printing 3D printed lightsaber parts for 5 years now, and I never have a problem. People use 3D printed chassis all the time. If I switch to full screen, like this. Well, this is my original saber. That's never. I took it apart to upgrade it like 3 years ago, and still haven't finished it yet. It's originally has a Nano Biscotti V3 with the Arduino. It's on FX and TSS how I hacked it all together. But yeah, this is a 3D printed chassis from before that was cool, and this has like the speaker and then the charge port in the back, and this worked great for years. So
I'm thinking about that crystal chamber that you talked about maybe possibly behind the buttons or something.
Yeah, it would be tight. So I think it'd be sort of like a mock crystal chamber.
Mm-hmm.
So we have like a window, maybe some mesh around it, and then we can have like probably like a 3D printed representation of a crystal that, when you're seeing it through the window, it looks like a crystal, but it's probably hollow in the back, so that we have room to run all the wires and everything.
I wonder if like maybe the button area, like how it has that window, maybe I don't know, maybe I don't know, just kind of thinking that could the instead of two buttons, could it be like, well, there'd be two buttons, but like a circuit card over it, but maybe the circuit card is see-through to see that
Yeah.
crystal. I don't know.
Yeah, that's where'd I put it now? I don't know where the hell. I haven't even gotten up from my chair and I can't find my seat. Like this, this is designed to, that center part is supposed to light up.
The control box.
Yeah, I have a flashlight here, so you can see like, that lights up pretty good.
Yeah, that's hot.
I like that. I wonder, like Harris made some Graflexes recently where the switches are on the card. I like that. I wonder, if it's something like that where you press the card on the top or bottom and also maybe see through to that neopixel lit crystal. JC says it's casting is faster if you're making a bunch.
I've gone out of focus. Yeah, it's also, especially on the resin printer, it's I'm just trying to get my stupid camera to focus now. The resin printer is so slow. Like to print that chassis will take a day. That'll take a whole day.
Just for one chassis, you're saying?
Yeah, it's so free. Well, the thing is, with the resin printer, it prints layers at a time, but it prints the whole layer at once.
Oh,
You have like a puddle of resin, and it uses UV light to cure it, and it just like sort of goes
Works
like
its
up
way
and
up.
down, and
That
you
sounds
get, like,
stronger. Like it doesn't sound like
Yeah.
your fingers would
Well,
break it as easy.
No, the filament is way stronger. But
just takes
it's
longer.
They're just different. They have different, better applications. The resin printer just gives you a much nicer detail.
Mm.
Like, I spent so much time sanding all this crap to make it look nice, and the resin printer, you basically pull it out and it's done.
Wow.
But I mean, I have lots of 3D printed parts. Like, like the emitter on this thing is 3D printed, like just the end part. I've done a lot of 3D printed emitters, and I just put an aluminum core in them. Like this whole thing is 3D printed. It's got a metal core just for the emitter that goes down to about here. And that's, can I take this apart? Yeah, so, like, metal just comes down to there.
The Mad Science Workshop.
Obviously, this is more of a shelf queen type of scenario. But, it doesn't even have a retention screw. This is totally a friction fit. You can swing it pretty good because it's pretty tight, but yeah, that's not a...
Those magnets give me an idea. I wonder if they're like the cap that could go over the buttons. Maybe that's magnetic.
Yeah, I also thought about doing something like that. I also, in another Saber that I've been working on for years on and off, the way I designed it is that instead of having the tabs on the, well, I'm not showing my screen now. Instead of having like the tabs at the base of the switches, I put like, like like the header pins. So the switch is the key that holds the chassis and that saber. I'm not really. I would share that. I think Anthony's the only person that's actually seen that saber, so I'm not going to pull that one out. But yeah, so that's another idea I had. Like we could put like a PCB with like the female headers, and the switch box could sort of plug into the saber, so you'd pull it out.
Right.
Yeah,
Kind of like what you did at the bottom here.
Yeah, I was like this idea where I had to make it so like the plunger with the separate switches was kind of to make it idiot proof. I don't want somebody to start like cranking on the grip trying to unscrew it and then break something. So, I mean, whatever. If the switches would penetrate long enough, like I made this setup specifically so that it would be shallow enough, but the switches would a standard length 12 millimeter switch would go inside. There's no way you'd be able to unscrew it.
I do like the fact that they're metal, like they're nice, strong switches in this design. That's nice.
Yeah, and my idea for this box is obviously it would either have to be custom made or like cold cast, which is like the resin's like 50% aluminum, and then you polish it so it just looks like metal.
Oh.
Which I have a bunch of metal powder coming because I need it for another saber. So I'm doing some cold cast parts for the emitter and stuff.
Jake says, so it comes down to, do you want to spend time waiting for the printer or sanding? I think the choice is clear. Yeah. Sanding is terrible.
My friend had his kid sanding something one day. Like 4-year-old kid, and it's like, oh, the kid loves sanding. He'll grow out of that.
It's gonna run far away.
Yeah,
traumatized.
Sanding's the worst. I mean, like on my bench, I put a box fan with the furnace filter on it, and it's next to the drill press. So I like chuck stuff up, hold the sandpaper so the fan can, eat up all my
away
dust.
the dust.
Yeah. Because especially with like the resin, it's just nasty.
Jake asked, are you still working out how you'll do your wire routing? Looks like the switch PCB might block the most direct route to the blade signals.
Yeah, it's all figured out. Yeah, it's all in my but Anthony and I talked about it. There's room alongside the battery. If I can get do I have a different? So you can see there's plenty of room. So one of the things, Anthony, if you have the picture of one of the ideas we talked about, was actually to have like sort of a conduit. You don't need it, but like an exposed conduit coming up the side that you could run. Not even showing my screen. I'm just yapping again. So yeah, so here you can see like there's plenty of room on the side of the battery.
Oh yeah.
And we talked about putting like the conduit to run the wires. I think it's better. You could make it look like there's a conduit that's running the wires, and make it cosmetic. But I think it looked really cool. And then when we were still talking about having a front firing speaker, I had some sort of like exposed wiring that also looked cool. So that could be either real wiring or I just glue in some things to make it look cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I could show you It's just a sketch that I had going. How do I rotate this?
We're gonna call it the Shorty Doo Wop.
Yeah.
JBKuma Civilized Sabers present to you the Shorty Doo Wop.
I like it.
Yeah, so this is just like the brown or the red ink there is the conduit that we were potentially thinking of, or like I was just asking Jason a minute ago, you know, can I upgrade or can I modify the chassis a bit? You know, maybe I can add something like that as a custom thing if I want to, or drill some holes for some little lights to come through, you know. So I think that that's doable.
Yeah, I mean, right now it's just plain because, you know, I got to work out the major parts before you start doing all your styling. But we can build in whatever you want.
Totally.
Like, you know, throwing in some blinkies and stuff. That's the easy part.
So speaker's gonna be at the towards the control box at the top.
Well, originally that's how I had it, but in this design that you're seeing here on screen, the speaker is down by the pommel, but it looks like there's like a nice resonance area for it. I think it'll probably be better off that way than up at the top.
Yeah.
Having to travel past everything to get out. Now it's going to have that big resonance chamber behind it, and also it looked like it had like 1.5 inches or whatever size the pommel is to bounce around in as well.
Yeah.
Would it fit bass speakers also, or just a 28mm regular one?
Well, here I used a bass speaker.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's probably about 1 inch there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've done this before with the charge port, like I said, that like
Yeah.
Saber I was showing you before. It works great.
Yeah. That's pretty
You just
cool.
have to be like clever about getting your wires past the speaker.
Yeah.
So like you unscrew the pommel there, and the chassis doesn't move. Is that the idea?
Yeah.
Or you? Yeah.
So it would, you know, that part would just be sticking out. And then if you wanted, then you could pull that off to get your SD card.
Okay. And is like the belt clip bolt holding the top section in? Is that how you'd take that out?
Yeah. It's actually retained by the emitter, which doesn't need to do that, but that's the way I designed it. So you can see like that. Well, you can't see my finger, but like this is the grip and that's the threads. So there's like, this shoulder here is like your standard TCSS module. Like if you had an LED,
Mm-hmm.
well, it's the same shape anyway. And I've also made parts like that before for all my sabers, because I've actually only ever made pixel blades. I
see. So it's like the locking mechanism that the MHS has built into the emitter. That's what you base this off of. Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So, like I had a couple thoughts on this. Like you could you could use some sort of screws to hold the chassis so it's always connected to the emitter, or it could just be floating. So if you take the grip off, then the whole thing slides out as a so you have like basically your saber core. And as long as that I've had this idea that I've wanted to do for a long time of doing the universal saber core, where as long as you have a way of connecting your switches, you could put that core to anything. So the way I've been designing my sabers is that basically my battery, sound card, and speaker are all in one thing, and then the switches and the blade connectors stay in the saber. So you could see that in going back to my like my original concept, this has an 8-pin connector, and the switch and the blade connector stayed in the Saber. And this whole part, and this was a crystal chamber, but it doesn't exist anymore. So this whole part came out, and then I could plug a blade directly into this, and it would work. So I have that's my design philosophy, I guess.
Well, Gabe, wasn't there one of the companies you were telling me about? Was it you that like the insides fit in all the hilts?
Oh yeah, I forgot which one that was. They did something like that where it's all interchangeable.
Yeah, like no matter what it looks like on the outside, it's like the same insides.
Yeah, it's like just outer shells, and they offer you different ones, and it's just the inner core chassis, one system. You just take it out, put it in another, and it's compatible with all that. I forget what company that was.
JB's been doing it for years. Sad Mall Chronicle says, "Hi guys, what's going on, buddy? Thanks for being here." Jake Soft says, "I just tossed in a Mad Science Workshop neopixel MHS adapter to a recent Saber." MHS adapter. Is he talking about the thing that's like acts like a tri-crate kind of?
Yeah. So yeah, that like basically this top part. I believe the one that Jake Soft has uses the GX16s like I use.
Oh yeah.
Which I mean I like the idea of the pogos and PCBs, but for me personally, I just can't get away from using the GX16s because I do a lot of other stuff. So like, if there's no blade or blade plug plugged into my Saber, it's off. There's no power. And you have to plug something in, like this one's hard.
JB even charges his Sabers through the emitter.
Yeah. That's crazy.
So, I don't have any other ports sticking out of here. I just have, my switches here, and then I have, I don't know if I have any handy, but I've made like all like nice looking charge adapters that look like, I call it the Saber shunt, and you stick it in there. And you can program the Saber through the socket and everything. So I have 10 pins to work with, and you're never going to get that with your pogo pins. I've done like some designs where I use like the pogo pins, and then I have like
6 connections, right?
Yeah. And actually I think I have one of those right here.
We almost did this with some of our Civilized Saber stuff along the road at certain points where there was maybe going to be more connections there. One
of the prototypes I had. So like the 2 outer rings, at least then you have like the outside rings are for programming. So USB is like it's plus and minus, but it's really differential. Or if you're doing serial, it doesn't matter. If it doesn't work, you just turn it 180 degrees, then it'll work.
Oh.
So
that is cool.
That was like the blade side adapter. Then on the hilt side adapter it's complicated. So we won't go too deep into it, but I have other ideas, but ultimately I'll probably always stick to the GX16s unless I'm making a Saber for somebody else.
Jake Soft says it's harder to plug in the blade, but it's more versatile if you're a nerd like me. Yeah, I think we're all like that because I prefer the string blades, which is like the 8-pin connectors is what I use, and I just like that. I think it's strong. I think it's a great connection.
Yeah, and like, is this even gonna work? It's like this is a friction fit. Like you can't do that with the pogo pin style. Like the connector's holding the blade in.
Yeah. Some of my string blade Sabers do that too, where it's like tight enough and that plug is like friction enough that it holds like a short blade.
I just realized I built like 20 lightsabers, and these are the only 2 that are actually functional at the moment. That's not true. That's not true. This is my Liberty Saber. This one works. I was lending to this to one of my friends is a theater actor, and he did a show called Soft Power. It was like a political musical. So he took this to go pose with his people. You can't really tell on here, but it's a flame.
That's cool.
That's a neopixel strip inside that.
Yeah.
Inside that 3D printed bit that you made.
Yeah. So I'm working on making this as a thing for other people also.
Very cool.
I'll probably.
It's like a Kylo Ren unstable main blade.
Yeah.
Like main blade.
I don't even know where my blade is, but that's like I actually posted a really crappy video a couple years ago where my blade's covered in silicon, like caulking.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
So I think I made
that was heavy because I think I played with that at your house. It was heavy.
Yeah. I think I made that before Force Awakens. I'm not sure.
Maybe after the trailer came out.
Well, I was like when I made it, I was thinking proto blade, like the classic artwork where the blade looks like textured and stuff, not like not like the film versions, which are solid laser beams.
Originally, they were supposed to be like unwieldy and erratic, and then it changed to be like smoother and easier to handle. It's tuning something up over there. Someone's going to catch a missile. So what are your ideas for Civilized Saber's V4 pixel chip? Like now that you made the V3 chip, you could wire a whole blade up to it. Like I don't think is there anything anywhere else you could go with that type of thing?
I mean, I have well, you know me, I have lots of stupid ideas. I actually thought of making it'd be more of a system than a chip, but I've played with the idea of making a pixel. I have my Pixel Star, which I've been working on forever. I think I first mentioned it in the forums like 4 years ago. And I've actually posted tons of prototypes on the forum before I stopped posting prototypes of things because people were taking my ideas and selling them. Which you also mentioned in your last stream.
Well, the latest one that I saw is like selling like a Pixel Star like thing. It's pretty inexpensive. I was like, I don't think that we could get that low, or you could get that low. It's. I mean, how many do you have to print? How many do you have to make it $30? I don't know.
I mean, I can make them for $30, but I'm not selling it for $30 at that point.
Yeah.
There's just too much work and custom parts going into it. But so my idea was to make like use like maybe a 3-watt RGB LED instead of the pixels. So then
I think Gabe likes that idea.
What's that?
Like
instead of the pixels that are on this chip right here.
Mm-hmm.
You know how this makes like your blade plugs and stuff?
Yeah.
JB's idea for the next one is maybe put a 3-watt.
not a 3-watt, a 1-watt. A
1 watt
Yeah.
But to put 3 of them, or like how many would
No,
be out
just
there?
I was thinking like the XML style, where it's all in one die,
Right.
because that's the only way you could fit it. Because you have to have some active circuitry and stuff to make it work.
That would be bright. And I mean, maybe that's like a different product. Like maybe that's something for maybe other purposes, like
Yeah.
Quylons. You know, maybe that could work better for Quylons than.
Yeah, and you know we I've been working on the FX Saber OS, which Jake Soft has contributed to, and he's got his whole new system he's been working on. So you guys need to check that out. But we can use the Pixie chip with our system, which is not the same as Pixel protocols, and it's like a 1 watt RGB thing. So if the Saber board could support using it, you could use that.
That's called Pixie. You said Pixie?
Yeah. I've never used it, but Andras, who is the other primary developer for FX Saber OS, he's used them, and he's the one that wrote the integration for that.
Yeah, I like this idea by Excelsior Sabers. Somebody should make a proto Saber setup where there is a huge speaker in the backpack. Then you'd have a lightsaber that sounds as real as possible. Yeah, that would be one of the only ways to have it stand out in a crowd. Because like I know people come toward me like at the con, they say I have like the brightest saber, they want to take like a picture. But as far as sound, you know, it's hard to hear in a crowded area or something like that. That would be something. Get a nice like bass tube backpack. I like that. Jake Soft says, "Do it."
What Jake Soft's been working on recently is a lightsaber system based on the NRF52 chip, which is a Bluetooth chip. And he's posted some demos recently, and he's been doing a lot of work on the pixels parts of it now. But we're not sure yet. But in theory, hopefully, we'll be able to use that Bluetooth to send a signal, not the sound, but if you could conceivably have a system where the Saber was triggering something else to play sounds.
Oh.
And you know, some of the Saber combat leaks also use remote signaling, so those systems could conceivably use a system where you're using that signal then to just trigger your backpack boombox to
or
blast
if
people's
it's
ears out.
a legit proto Saber setup.
Oh yeah, then it's easy.
Just have the wire.
Yeah.
Just have
Just
it
run like audio cables into an amp in your backpack. I like that.
it could be like a kyberphonic mobile video making setup. Like if you know Jesse has a studio where he'll do his kyberphonic videos. This could be like a mobile studio where it's all hooked up to like a proto Saber backpack.
But this is a thing that I've been playing around with. These are actually like fruit cups. But I just made like this mating thing, and I don't know, the idea was like, I don't know, it's like an infiltration thing where it's like an EMP and a grenade or something. I don't know.
That's cool.
I had these fruit cups.
Like maybe when you pull it apart, it starts beeping. Beep, beep.
Like
beep,
I had these
beep,
stupid
beep, beep.
dull fruit cups, and I just saw this, and I'm like, I knew exactly what I wanted to do with it. And I was like, I don't know.
Only JB will make weapons out of fruit cups.
Yeah. And then it has magnets, but these could be speakers, is what I'm getting at now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, because it reminded me of one of those like dollar store, like $5 store type things where it's like a speaker pod that it's for like your bathroom or something. It comes out and it's a little speaker inside there as a Bluetooth.
I mean, that's another project that I started working on that I haven't gotten around to finishing is a Bluetooth thermal detonator. So it's just like a Bluetooth speaker and a thermal detonator.
Oh, that's cool. Well, with the thing that you're holding with those magnets, I'm thinking, what if, you know, one way it's not armed, but when you turn the magnets, like when
Yeah.
you rotate it one certain degree, now it's armed and it could start lighting up, making sounds.
Yeah, it could easily do that.
Mark
I mean-
says hi. What's up? What's up, Mark?
Oh man, all my crystals in my. Yeah.
I don't know
So-
that word. Baricua with a fresh
Like-
cut. I don't know what that means.
Oh, this has my logo on it too. That's a tiny little logo.
JB make those goggles? I think he did. I think he
I did. So this is
Yeah, because this is like his idea that I always loved from that Thanos saber,
yeah.
where the different crystals do things when they're in the correct position.
Yeah. So each one of these is a switch, and it knows which one is which. You could put them wherever you want on the thing. It's kind of broken at the moment because I did all the wiring in one afternoon. And I'm not holding it up high enough. But yeah, all these come off, and they could go back in any place, and it knows. And if they're all in, you can squeeze it, and then you get infinity mode.
God mode.
Yeah.
That's
But it's got
If
like
all of them are in place, then half of the population goes away.
yeah. And it's like, there's like nothing but wires from here to here. It's like it's nuts.
It's like the inside of my sabers.
Yeah. It's like there's like the battery, and I think it's a DIY,
Yeah, I think I
Oh, no.
read about the Bluetooth thing in like the Plector manual back in the day, but I never did that with the Plector board.
So
Oh,
this is
that's
like
clean. That looks great. That looks really
this is a full homebrew FX Saber. So this is a Arduino Nano, a DF player, and the motion chip. So that's
FX Sabers OS.
yeah. So this is this is like $10 worth of parts, and everything else is all in the programming.
What do you mean $10 worth of parts?
So this Arduino is like a couple bucks. The DF player, it's maybe $15 of parts, not including the battery, just the electronics.
Oh,
So like the motion chip's a couple bucks. The DF player, I get them for super cheap from China, and the Arduino, so $10 or $15 in electronics.
so if you know what you're doing there, you use FX Sabers OS, you can
Yeah.
turn those like cheaper electronics into like workable lightsaber electronics boards.
yeah, I mean, this is obviously totally custom programming. Jake Soft wrote some lightsaber libraries called USaber, so I used some of that in this, but like to make all the buttons and stuff work, it's totally custom. And even like with FX Saber OS, it's it's much simpler than Profi OS because it runs on an Arduino, not on a 32-bit like ARM Cortex chip. It's an old school Arduino, so it's a little bit easier to follow. And I don't know if you remember, I did the Christmas bell lightsaber one year. Do you
I don't know.
that?
I don't remember that one.
Yeah, that was like one of the first pixel. It was my first like true pixel blade saber, and it was I think one of the first ones that anybody ever posted. I know like Frederick, me, and Andras were all kind of working on it at the same time. Like whatever that was, like 4 or 5 years ago, whenever the hell that was.
Jake the Snake says super late, but hello everyone. Well, hello there. Nice to have you here. Oh yeah, I should have known this from the other night. The Sad Mall Chronicles says Boricua. It means
Oh,
sorry, I should have
he was,
remembered that. Yeah, he
I
was
didn't even realize he was giving me a shout out, Boricua. That's
should have
hilarious.
got it from the big
I
Pun.
forgot he mentioned his family's from there. What's up, Sadmo? Shout out.
So I'll just point out what some of the things on these goggles are.
I see a crystal on the top.
Yeah, so this is I'm backwards. So this is like a quartz crystal. This is a screwdriver for glasses like you get at the grocery store line. The rest of this is all like flashlight and plumbing doohickeys.
I love the greeblies. I would say that the top bit is the antenna. That's how you're able to speak with me high above the earth.
Yeah.
The other bits are your quadraphonic emulsifiers that magnify the full spectrum of lightsaber color.
That's
what-
it.
So he can
Obviously.
fully determine whether or not the pixel chip is on par with the rate it's supposed to.
And there's
Oh,
another.
look, he even has a DIN plug there.
Yeah, so I can plug it in, and I can actually see out of this a little bit. So it's hard to see through the mesh, especially with the lights on.
Oh,
It's
but I
hard to
like
see
the
through this hole.
Death Star window. I didn't even notice that until you took it
Yeah.
off.
Yeah, and they're like $3 welding goggles from Harbor Freight, and then
Well worth it.
14,500 just strapped to the top. But yeah, these were fun. I just had like the idea one day, and had to do it.
Are they comfortable? Are they
Oh,
comfortable
not
to
at all. Oh yeah, they're heavy as hell because this is all like solid brass. All these parts. Because these are from like plumbing fixtures. Thank you. I actually just trimmed my beard a couple days ago. It was
It's a
like,
legendary beard.
probably that long.
Sick fucker says there's no smooth swing and has a larger
Yeah.
footprint, but DIY Eno and Stream are amazing for the price. I
Yeah.
believe.
So Stream is the system that Jakesoft wrote, and that has like a really nice GUI interface. So you plug in your Saber and you can change your colors and some of your settings on your Saber. You can check out Jakesoft on YouTube. He's got lots of demos for that. But with FX Saber OS and Stream, basically the DF player is an MP3 player that you can control with the Arduino. So there's no way to do smooth swing practically. Me and Wenzel have tried doing some hardware hacks on the DF player to get it to work, and it does work. But it's not for the novices. And when we started working on FX Saber OS, we just wanted to change the Saber community because there was a lot.
You ended up changing the world.
Yeah. And we didn't get necessarily the credit, and none of us made any money on it. But when we started doing it, there was Plector and NEC, and they were kind of expensive and didn't have a lot of like new and modern features. And we're like, well, with an Arduino and a couple of cheap parts, we can make all sorts of crazy stuff that nobody even thought of, and started making the first like true Pixel Blade systems years before it was in anything else.
When I first saw that stuff, I thought that the boards, having multiple boards, and there was like that Saber you showed, that Thanos Saber, the Infinity Saber, that belies what I first thought about it, because I thought that the Saber would have to be kind of big for the electronics to fit in, but you showed that it's like this super small Saber. See how short it is, and it's got everything in there of that system. Jakesoft says Stream doesn't even require you to program at all and works on the same hardware as FX Saber OS.
Yeah, I mean, if you have any, if you just want to try it out, it's really cheap to just give it a try with some cheap parts and a soldering iron.
If I was a kid, I would, and I was like, funds for lightsaber parts were tight and stuff like that. I would be all over. I'd be all over that tonight, because that is like super, super cool to be able to get that to work. Like for you said, it was like less than $20 in those electronics part, like not including the battery.
Yeah, the battery costs more than the.
Well, if you got a good battery, it might be like $21, or if you got like a decent battery, maybe it's $10 or $15. So yeah, about the same amount for a battery, but
yeah, for $30, and then like depending on what you're doing for the LED. Like if you just buy like one of the like 3-watt XML modules on eBay or whatever, you know, for 40 to 50 bucks, you can make, you know, it's not going to be a blindingly bright.
Or some of the strips, like you know, Amazon or eBay, some of the strips that are really reasonable.
Well, I've always made the argument, like when pixel blades were first a thing and people are like, oh, well, the blade's so expensive. It's like, but you only need one blade. Like, unless you want to have multiple
All
blades to
the
use multiple
effects of all the
sabers.
colors. Yeah.
So if your one blade cost, even if it's, you know, cost, you got like the super premium civilized saber blade that, you know, you spent good money on, it's still cheaper than 10 LED modules.
Unlimited power. That's all I want. Bright and louder. Let's go.
So, you know, the thing that Jake's been working on recently, he's calling Xstream, and that's designed for the NRF52, and that will have.
It's designed for
the
say it again?
NRF52 chip.
Interactive V2.
Chip. NRF52.
Oh.
So you got to get through my Jersey accent, I guess.
I should be able to decipher.
I know, right? Like, come on, eh?
Yeah. But that'll have smooth swing and everything all built in, and he has multiple swing options. It automatically gets configured by your font loadout. It is a very, very sexy system.
That's awesome. Jake Soft is always working. Always working.
Yeah, he is. Jake Soft is like a real professional, you know, super programmer, and I'm just some hack sitting in my apartment making dumb shit. I do have a video of the Christmas Bell Saber. It is on my YouTube channel, which is Mad Science Workshop. Workshop is with 2 P's and an E at the end. It is, the video I think is called Little Billy, a Yule Side Saber.
Oh, it looks like Mundo is in the chat. What is going on, Mundo?
What up, Mundo?
Jake Soft says those are some pretty great goggles. I'd have to agree. Mundo says wicked specs. I love them in this light. It's like I can't take my eyes off.
I actually have a pixel strip across the top to get my lighting going. It's got like the
you
rainbow.
Can program it. You're hypnotizing us.
Yeah.
Shout out to Stickfucker for making people say his name on stream. There you go. Hail Mundo. Thanks for being here. Let's see. Jake Soft says, don't worry, folks. Xstream does dynamic swings. Boom. It does do them. TK Boomer is here. He says, you don't know the power of the dark side. Gabe doesn't know the power of the dark side. I tried to show him, but it's not interesting.
Yeah, it doesn't work for me either.
You're not interested in the full power of the dark.
Yeah, I've tried doing it, like you know, like video games stuff. I cannot. I'm like Mass Effect. I was like full Paragon.
I always go through on the light side first, and then go try to do the dark one, And yeah, I have trouble just like you playing the dark side, but I also think it's pretty funny. Like there was one thing in Knights of the Old Republic where when you're dark side, it's like when you're light side, this lady has a crystal, and the only way to get it from them is, I think, to do something really, really bad to them. When you get the crystal, you realize that it's like a dark side crystal. That's why you had to do something bad. Like doing nice things for them wasn't going to work. So then when you're a bad guy, you know, you want the crystal, and it's like, it's kind of okay to get the crystal because you're trying to get those dark side points. So
That's hilarious.
certain times it works out.
Yeah, like the most I get is like I play like full light side, but I can occasionally get like some sort of snarky like singer as a dialogue option, and I'll go with that one.
Well, see, I don't want to ruin like the good streak, because sometimes like my character at one point was like rising up like an angel, like being lifted by glitter.
Yeah,
Because I was like so good, and whenever you hit the pause button and you could see your character, like my character was like Jesus, like rising, and once you did something wrong, it would fall back to earth. It wasn't really. But then when you did the Sithy, you know, one, he was breathing, and they were like hunched over, and they were angry when you got deep into the Sith.
I've been trying to play Knights of the Old Republic because it was such a good game.
How is it? Like, are you playing it on like a newer computer or something? Like, did they update it?
They ported it for Xbox One, and I also have it for PC because I got like Steam had like some Star Wars package a few years ago that was like 20 games for $20 or something crazy. It was all like the classic Star Wars games. But I can't replay games. It's like that story's over.
Yeah.
I lived through that already.
I'm the same way, but except Jedi Fallen Order, I'm stuck on that one. I play it 3 or 4
back
times.
to it. You've like already beaten it, but you've gone back.
Yeah,
I haven't beaten
it.
Power that up. I got to play that. I haven't. I've gotten like only like a quarter of the way through.
I think that's the only Star Wars game I could replay. All the other ones, Battlefront and all that stuff, I can't.
Like if you do everything in the game, what's it, like a 20-hour game?
Yeah. But see, I play
because I get stuck in
I always play like rookie level so I can get through it quicker because my schedule's full. So it ain't like I got time to invest that, you know.
Yeah, like some of the that game also, the fights were really inconsistent in their difficulty. So playing it on normal, it's like when you're fighting the chumps, they just fall over dead because you looked at them. And then you get to like a mid-level boss, and they're impossible to beat. Like they're harder to beat than the real bosses.
Yeah.
So I ended up playing it on easy, and also because it was just like, I'm not here to be frustrated. I'm trying to like
be entertained, and you don't want to sit there and just be more upset than before you started playing. You get on the game, you know, to get to distract you and to have a good time, man. You get on there, and you stress the heck out, then you're yelling at the TV screen.
Fighting those stormtroopers and stuff like on the harder setting, but my problem was just getting lost. Like I can't find my way back to where I'm supposed to go. I don't have
that happened to me too. I would have to kind of cheat a bit and just get on YouTube and look walkthroughs through that particular map. You know, people who played it, and I'll figure out how to get back out of a cave or something, because it would happen to me too. I would get stuck, man, some places.
Felicia Marie
played more than once.
Felicia Marie says, thank you. I love your ingenuity. JBKuma. Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, I like those KOTOR games, the Knights of the Old Republic on Xbox. Like I would actually love to replay that on Xbox One, like you said, because there was a mode you could choose that the way once I figured it out back on the original Xbox, I would play it that way, which was like it wasn't as stop and go as the game was default mode. Like in the default mode, it was kind of like a stop and go type of, you select something and then the action continues and then other person makes a choice and then the action stops. This was like a setting that you chose that allowed it just to play more like an action game. And only when like a battle started or something like that, I would kind of go into what I called like Matrix mode, where I would, kind of do that
Exactly.
slowdown.
Like queue up your first like 5 moves and
Or
then
like
go.
4 maneuvers, and kind of understand, like, especially when you get a little more powerful, or when you understand the game a little bit, it becomes more where you could like run into a room and deal with whatever's in the room. Kind of knowing that you could deal with whatever's in the room, I thought was, I would build up my character. I was always trying to be like either the consular. I forgot what I was if I was the bad guy, but I was usually the good guy.
So
Usually
what fighting style did you guys do in the game?
Was it tied to the like Guardian, Consular? Was it tied to
No,
those, or was it
maybe
something
it
else?
was. Maybe because you could dual wield staff or single saber.
Right. I
So,
think
like,
the staff thing was like Sentinel, and the dual wielding, you could do that if you were a Guardian. But I would choose Consular, which I felt was more like Luke, more like it was like part diplomat, part fighter. But you would use yours. It was like kind of if you were playing like a magic based game, it'd be like that was the spellcaster, was like the consular, was like you could kind of stand back and throw some wave spells, or zap some people from across the room.
What about you, Gabe?
Which game is that? The
Playing
Cold
Knights
War
of the-
games?
Yeah.
I've never played those.
Oh, I thought you said.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no.
Yeah, I was like dual wield, like could not do dual wield. I tried doing other things. I'm like, no, I got to go back and fix this.
Because I was always into green. So when you were the consular, they'd give you the green crystal to start, and then you could find, like, maybe you find another crystal.
Was that game, or was it like Jedi Academy or something where you went to the planet to get your crystal?
Yeah, there was a couple. Jedi Academy, the very last game I played for that was where you were like Jaden Core, and you got to pick how your character looked, but the name was Jaden Core. And I think you got your crystal color by just picking it, I think. And I don't know if there was styles there, but I remember that had a great like action for lightsabers in it. It was like, and people still play that game to this day. They have skins. They'll put Kylo Ren skins on it, and they'll put different character skins on it, and they have the game like rebuilt online.
Yeah, that era of games was the best out of the Star Wars games.
Yeah, agreed.
Which one had was it Jolie Bindu?
Yes, well, that was the original like Force Unleashed.
Was it?
I think. Where am I getting that confused? Or is that KOTOR?
It's funny because I've seen on YouTube, I've seen the movies of all the games. You know how they pop with the CGI cutscenes. I've seen them all. I've sat for hours and watched the entire story of KOTOR and all that. But I've never played the game, so I never had a chance.
Yeah, they had great stories. They were so good. They were
like book authors writing the stories. It was fantastic.
It was very cinematic and engaging. It like they were so good. And it was like not until Mass Effect came out that there was another game that felt like immersive like that to me.
Excelsior Saber says, I literally just replayed KOTOR a few weeks ago. Best Star Wars game ever. Agreed. I do want to play it on one of these new platforms and see how it is. It's like I rebought the disc about, I don't know, 5 or 10 years ago, and never tried to play the disc in my Mac, which is supposed to. I didn't think it was going to work, but I got it anyway. But now I know that like JB says, it's available. You could play it on Xbox. You could play it on Steam or some other host. It is the best Star Wars, but I have fond memories of every like Star Wars game, like going back to the ones on the Super Nintendo where it's like a scrolling one, Empire Strikes Back, and you're Luke and you have Saber and you've got the gun and you're jumping and you could fall down a hole or something. It was just fantastic. And I liked even a little later, they had a fighting game called The Masters of Terras Kasai, and it was the best. It was like a Tekken style crappy fighting game. It was on the PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 1 or PlayStation 2. It was fantastic. Oh, it was so much fun. Me and my friends had a great time with that. You could unlock, Luke in the dark outfit with the green saber. You could unlock Leia. She had a saber, I think. You could unlock Mara Jade. It was amazing.
Wow.
Furry Fox Den Gaming says hello. Well, hello there.
Yeah, Jolie Bindo is KOTOR.
KOTOR, okay.
Which now makes me feel like I need to actually really get into replaying it. He's one of my favorite. He was a great character.
Yeah, Jake says the same thing. Now he's got to go play KOTOR again. Probably would run on my phone these days. Yeah. I mean, it probably would.
It does, actually. There's an Android version, which I also have. Because I've tried many times to get back into it.
They have KOTOR on the phone now. It's crazy.
Yeah. Somebody tried to do, I don't know what engine they were using, probably Unreal. They're like, we're making a modern adaptation, and they were, I think, pretty far into it before they got shut down, which is a shame.
I think I heard about that.
It looked good. Like, it didn't look exactly the same, because you're remastering it, so you have all this opportunity to put in detail. You're not gonna.
Yeah, they said they were like remastering it in 4K. Isn't that what they said? Something like that.
Yeah, it looked great.
I wanted to ask JB about some wacky thing. I mean, I'm sure you knew this was coming. But okay, so we've got the TriStar, and you've made for us the TriStar chip, which allows me to make the TriStar blade easier.
Yeah.
And I put that together with like the Tri-Core that I have, and we sell the TriStar kit for anybody that wants to make their own TriStar. And that's kind of the purpose of this show tonight, is just to kind of give people insider idea of like what goes on in the background, like when you're designing Saber stuff, or when you're coming up with ideas for Saber parts, or when you're in the position to actually create your own lightsaber parts, like you are. And so you probably knew this was coming since we did the 3-strip blade. Is it possible to do a chip where we could set up like a quad star chip?
I mean, yeah.
Now Gabe wants a quad star. He's going to skip the TriStar altogether.
No, I know that's asking for much.
I found the perfect quad core where I'm going to it's a piece of balsa where it's like the perfect diameter, the perfect size for that. And I'm thinking, maybe the chip from JBKuma could make it easier.
Battery would last like 5 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like, you have to run it on a 21700, or I've done a lot of testing on trying to reduce the current, and some things work better than others.
See, I'm more for like running to the top of the mountain and then just figuring out what we're going to do from there.
Yeah, like you're getting close to like, why stop at 4?
Can we do 5? Let's go.
I'm sure 5's gonna fit, man.
The ultimate strip. You actually need sunglasses to go along with it.
There you go.
Yeah, it's gonna be it's gonna light on fire too.
Oh my god, it's just exploding in your hand.
You have to use. Well, thinking about the doing 4. You could, in theory, do. Well, it's not going to work with a chip, but you could, in theory, run it with like 2 batteries, where one battery was running one blade and one battery is running the other blade.
What do you mean, other blade?
So like have pairs of strips. You can't see my hand.
Oh, I know what you mean.
It's like, so you have like 2 strips off of one battery and 2 strips off the other battery, and then they're doing some weird thing with their hands. But yeah, but then you couldn't do it. Well, you could do it with a chip. It just wouldn't be a standard chip. I mean, you couldn't run that on a standard Saber. It would, well, it would work. It just would last like Gabe said for like 5 minutes, and then and it would be dim as hell.
Yeah, you'd just be like, "Hey guys, check this out," and it just boots right off.
Maybe you get the like the prototype battery pack that holds the speaker and the backpack and the battery pack.
Yeah, there you go.
An extra
like a lead acid battery hanging off your ass.
We're gonna make that our new logo. It'll be like a dead battery.
That's it.
Daria is here. What's going on, buddy? Daria Tang, Space. Got to play it just for the ending sequence. Oh man, you'll be drooling for a night or two. Are you talking about KOTOR or Fallen Order? Yeah, I think you might be talking about Fallen Order because I said I'd never finished that one. But KOTOR, I did finish and I loved it. Even though like the second game was less. I mean, you know,
Fallen Order was just too short, and the end, like I didn't like the end. Like the game just goes on rails. Like as long as you keep walking straight and pressing A, like you beat the game.
Well, I think it's almost like Assassin's Creed. Like I could button mash in Assassin's Creed and kind of get by. I kind of feel like that's kind of how Fallen Order is. But if you know the buttons, or if you do the buttons right, it looks cooler. It looks better. Especially when you need to deflect. Like you need to hit them buttons at the right moment to deflect, or else it's not gonna hit the person. Jake Sauce says, as I recall, it took way too long to get a lightsaber in KOTOR 2. I don't know, so many years ago, I don't recall.
Yeah. I'm sure I played it, but I don't.
I thought it took a long time to get a lightsaber in Jedi Outcast. Was it like Jedi Outcast 2 or whatever? Jedi Knight 2 Outcast? That one I thought took a while to get the lightsaber. When you were Kyle Katarn, you had to jump around and jump through all these caves and land on a little stone that was there, and that was difficult to. I almost dropped my own lightsaber. That was difficult to. That took a while, but it was like an accomplishment when you finally got that lightsaber in Outcast. Oh my god, that was amazing.
You really spent your years in this swamp before you got it. Well, you just reminded me of something. Like I've never been like a cutting edge gamer. I'm always like a system behind, at least if I even own the system. So like when Force Unleashed came out, I was at my friend's house and he's playing it. I'm like, oh, look at all this game's beautiful. It's got all these like great cinematic whatever. And then I got it for, I guess, PS2.
Maybe 3. PS3, I think it was.
No, it came out for PS3.
Oh.
But also for PS2. So
okay.
Like the PS3 version of the
that
game was like
awful.
They just cut out 3/4 of the game.
But the game was only 6 hours in the first place. Like that Force Unleashed game wasn't very long. It was like 8 hours at best.
So bad.
6 hours if you were playing through it.
Yeah, the PS2 version was so bad.
I can imagine.
A single sitting.
Such a big, step down in like the amount of like polygons available or whatever. JJ Jeffers is here. What's going on? What do you guys think of the announced new LucasArts games? I haven't looked too into it. I saw some screenshots and stuff.
From things I've read, people seem to be optimistic about them. But like, I bought Battlefront, the recent Battlefront, and it was awful. I played it for like 20 minutes and uninstalled it. I probably should have told more people, but Battlefront 2 was available for free last week.
Yeah, you told me.
Yeah, and so I got it. It barely runs on my computer. It takes like 15 minutes to load in the first place.
Oh, no.
It's beautiful, and it's very enjoyable to play, but I tried a game mode like right before I came on here. And it took me like, it's like, oh, I'll squeeze in like a quick game before I get on with Anthony. And it took 15 minutes to load. I'm like, well, there goes my gaming time.
Oh.
And whatever game mode it was totally unplayable. I have like I don't know, like a 6-year-old like gaming laptop that's basically, it's not really so much a laptop as it has a battery that you can plug it in a different room before the battery runs out.
Jeez.
See, I'm interested in like this open world game that was announced. I think that's going to be right up my alley because I really love the idea from like KOTOR of traveling with your ship, like having a ship. You had like the Ebon Hawk in KOTOR, and you could travel from one planet to the other at your whim.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool, and you could even do it. And I think you could do this in Fallen Order too. I just haven't really figured it out. Where you like going to different planets even before you're kind of done with that planet. You can just choose to go, and I like that about KOTOR, and I like the roaming aspect about KOTOR. So I hope that it's something like that, or something like GTA. I've always wanted like a Grand Theft Auto, but in the future where you can, you know, jump around, go totally open world, and kind of be maybe some kind of criminal in that world. I think that would be pretty amazing. Maybe be like a bounty hunter, or be something with maybe you get a jetpack eventually, you could soar around. That was always my favorite thing in Grand Theft Auto, but you know, to get the jetpack or something. In the newest Grand Theft Auto, I haven't gotten the jetpack. It's like millions of dollars, but earlier.
As long as it's not like a mandatory online multiplayer.
Oh, that would suck.
Yeah.
Like, did you guys play Destiny at all?
No.
Yeah, it was beautiful and like I enjoyed it, but it was like I couldn't play half the game because it had a mandatory multiplayer portion, and unless you were like with a game, like had like your own gaming crew to bring in, there was no matchmaking in the game. There was like they finally added in matchmaking like, I don't know, months before Destiny 2 came out, but there was no way I was playing Destiny 2 after playing Destiny 1. What game did I recently play?
Excelsior Saber says, I'm a total cargo addict in Battlefront 2015. Still play it for fun. Battlefront 2 is great for heroes versus villains, though. Yeah, my friend Sean always played, I think, the heroes versus villains in Battlefront 2. He got really, really good at it. I posted some videos on my channel a couple years back. I never got in, like, I bought the game. I bought Battlefront 2, but I played it like once. Like, I ran up to somebody with Vader. I got hit. That was the end of it. I left the game.
Yeah. I mean, like, I'm not, maybe I'll get around to playing the campaign. I don't know if I'll be able to play it on my computer, but the space fights are good.
There's a newer game that has the space battles, right? I'm told it harkens back to like the X-Wing games of like 30 years ago, but I haven't tried it. I haven't
Talking
tried
about
that.
Squadrons?
Yeah, maybe Squadrons.
I'll tell you, Mike Darth Chasm hates it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I heard some people, some like rumblings like that, where I heard on one side, like, you know, it's good. And I heard on the other side, kind of like the hardcore people who loved the X-Wing game of many years ago said like, no, it's not the same. It's not as good. So I don't know.
Did you ever play the like arcade? I think it was Millennium Falcon, where it had like the pilot and the gunner seat side by side.
No, that sounds great though.
Yeah, it was like in the 90s. I was with my friend's family in Atlantic City, and they had it on the boardwalk, and it was awesome. There was a line
I love
to
the
play
one
it.
that was kind of like that, but it was Terminator. That was great. If you had a lot of quarters, you could get some kind of like the sound was great. That's another thing I thought about Battlefront 2. The sound was just, I would see my friend playing it, and the sound was great. Sound was perfect. Star Wars.
I don't really remember enough about Battlefront 1 to understand why I found that unplayable, and Battlefront 2 seems enjoyable. Like the motion is just more natural, I think, and the gameplay is just less clunky in general.
Omunda says, has anyone played these games in VR? I think Gabe could answer that.
Yeah, I think.
What was the game you were playing with Vader? Was it Vader Immortal, or is that something else?
I was just gonna say that Vader Immortal, although it's kind of kiddish cartoonish as opposed to like PS5 graphics, which I have the PS5 or Xbox or PC, which is like the ultimate. But the VR thing is all about the immersiveness and the experience, and it's pretty cool that although you can play story mode, they do have the option in there where you can go to the lightsaber dojo. And
I think that's where you put me, right? And I was like crashed into the mirrors at my house.
Yeah, you just light up the saber, and then you got the stormtroopers coming and different robots and creatures of Star Wars universe, and it's pretty fun. That has a lot of repetitive playability. It's just a cool experience, and they have different tier levels, and then you can unlock different hilts, different sabers, different blade colors. Then you can unlock Ahsoka's, Anakin's, Obi's.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's got them all in there. It's pretty cool. The higher tier level you get, every level you beat, you unlock either a saber, a different color, or different gloves, colored gloves and things like that, because he's wearing like leather gloves in the game of the main character. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty awesome doing that experience there. Right now I'm stuck on Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I have that one for my PS5. And you want to talk about open world, man. It's like, it's stressful. It's just depressing. It's because it's like it's like the Grand Theft Auto. It's like so many things you can do that it becomes overwhelming. I try to just stick to the storyline. My lifestyle just doesn't give me enough time to sit here and play for hours and hours. So that's why I play every game I get. I play it on the easiest level possible. Get straight to the story mode. And if it was fun, I'll play it all over again. But this is this Assassin's Creed that just came out. It's just you walk by a horse and the horse has a side mission for you. It's ridiculous. Everything is a side mission. And it's just so much to do. It becomes overwhelming. Like you start losing where the focus on the story mode, like you lose track of where the heck is the story mode now. There's so many pings on the damn map. You don't know where to go, who to go talk to.
I think like original Zelda started that. You're on your way somewhere and then you just end up like 100 hours like doing all this other crap.
It's ridiculous.
I beat the original Zelda for the first time. I think it was 2 years ago.
Oh, like the gold disc one, like the gold card.
Yes, yeah.
Awesome.
I have the gold cartridge still, but I played it on an emulator.
Don't feel bad. I never played it at all.
Well, I think you're younger than I am, so
yeah.
Furry Boxed In Gaming says, "What would you think if Star Wars had anthropomorphic animals?" Characters. I think they kind of do, like Baby Yoda and stuff, right? Yoda.
Chewie.
I don't know.
And Chewie.
Yeah.
Like a big dog. Yeah, Chewie's like a big dog. JJ Jeffers says Outcast Academy. Yeah, that was like the most recent Jedi Academy type game. I loved all those. I played all those. My favorite thing was the surge. You surge forward with one of the buttons, and it's like the Matrix. You go very fast and you slice someone with your blade, or you run up a wall. Yeah, Jedi Academy, you started with a lightsaber.
Well, yeah, I guess it makes sense. You're at the academy.
Yeah, like you're showing up. Well, I think someone makes a comment like on the bus that you're like on the train, you're on the way there, and someone's like, "Oh, you made your own lightsaber already?" And you're like, "Shit, yeah, it's yellow or something." Like I forget what you say.
I thought it's not the one where you start and you're like at a cave or something.
I think that one's Jedi Knight 2. That's how I remember that one. I don't know though. You could be right.
Yeah.
Jedi Academy was great at the time for lightsaber acrobatics. Yeah, I remember like at the time like the graphics weren't like the best, but I just remember the action, like the button to like the action, like fastness. That quickness like was so spot on for like the playability. I remember that just being great. You could run on the wall, you could do your maneuvers, and I think that's why people still play it, because it's great for like one versus one, or like when you're playing other people. They do these like you could actually sword fight with a lightsaber in that game in the like the multiplayer version too.
Jake's off. Says that the original Zelda, its dedication to stick with it through the game. When you play it on the emulator, you can save every instant that you play. So, like, when I want to stop playing, I just hit the save button and you start out exactly where you are. Unlike if you're playing it from the way the game was intended, you basically have to die and then start over with your 3 hearts. So every time you got to farm your health back up. And yeah, when you play it on the emulator, you just always save wherever the hell you feel like it.
Oh, that's cool. That's a bonus.
Like when I got to Ganon, I actually didn't have time to do it, so I was saved like right at the door before I went in. And then
with all your potions and all your
and it was actually made it kind of anticlimactic when I fought him, because I just like walked in and I was done in 5 minutes. Like I didn't have like the whole lead in of like getting into the castle. And all
you weren't like all like sweaty because it was 4 a.m. and you needed to go to sleep. And
what a pain in the ass, though. Well, that's why I never beat it like the legit way back in the day, because like who had time for that?
Oh yeah, Excelsior Saber says Jolie Bindo was basically KOTOR's Yoda.
Yeah.
Find him living in a hut in the Shadowlands of Kashyyyk.
I mean, he's what started like the whole concept of Gray Jedi, which will start lots of fights on the internet.
Yeah. Was this a blind? Was Jolie Bindo blind, or am I confused?
I don't think he was blind. He just like lived in like the swamps of Kashyyyk and was a Gray Jedi, if you believe in such things.
I always thought his name was based off of Delroy Lindo. Jolie Bindo. Delroy Lindo. Sounds similar to me. Oh, yeah. Darius says they're making another KOTOR game now. It's been confirmed. Oh, wow. Okay.
Is that like a remake or a new game in the series?
Maybe it's KOTOR 3 finally. That would be crazy. That would be insane. Somebody remade JA and Unreal Engine, but don't know whatever became of it. Jedi Academy in Unreal.
Probably also got moused.
I thought people were playing that online. I could be wrong. JC says, I think the mouse killed it, Jake.
Yeah.
Oh, it was probably during either what happened.
Lucas was much more liberal with his creation policies.
Oh, I see what you're saying. It's like a cease and desist.
Oh, there's Emily there in the chat.
Oh, Mark, thank you. Am I watching Cyberpunk gameplay? Nope, just JBKuma. We appreciate you. Quads for everyone. That would be awesome. Right. Let's make a quad blade. Get JB on the keys of making a quad chip.
I was actually surprised that the pixel chip held up so well. I was not expecting to actually be able to run blades on that thing.
That's awesome.
But when I did, I did full current tests like from my bench power supply, and was not seeing really any losses through the chip.
I built a couple like that. You know, the pads aren't as easy to get to as a normal
chip. Only so much you can do.
Yeah.
You wanted 5 pixels on there. You can't put 5 pixels and have nice beefy pads.
Maybe we could make it double level.
I have thought about things like that.
I'm joking, though.
I'm not.
I see you got him started now.
Yeah.
You got him.
Nobody needs to get me started.
What's going to stop your quad from melting? Well, Arctic breezes or
yeah, you could only light it up in wintertime.
Maybe you have to have a really it can't be anybody in the chat because you have to be
this is a box full of all different chips and stuff for various ideas. Yeah, I don't need anybody feeding
He's
me
gonna
more
build an
ideas.
R2.
Infinity plus one, still infinity. Like I can't have more ideas. Um, I do think the quad blade would have a risk of melting your foam finally.
Yeah, we would have to see like if I could get a couple layers of heat shrink tubing around it, and
It's gonna be really
maybe
tight.
that could stop it. Or if maybe if it wasn't too long, you know, maybe keep those to like 30 inches. I don't know.
Like, do you think your foam would fit the like core?
Yeah, because like I kind of did some experiments and I was like, like you know what foam would be perfect? It would be that KR foam that they have it's for the KR pixel strip. They have it at Custom Saber Shop. It's like the V2 foam or whatever. That would work good because sometimes I even find that I have to on a normal blade, I have to like put some extra heat shrink tubing on it to make it like not like flop around in there.
Yeah.
Like that's why I use Makoto foam because it's usually got that like denser with a smaller hole in there, so it holds the blade a lot nicer. But I was thinking with that KR foam that might be possible there, and I have my friend Steve keeps asking me for the quad. He kind of gave me the idea to try it, so I was like, well, he really wants it. He said he's going to put like I don't know 26,650 or 26,650s. I forget what he said inside his hilt.
Yeah, I think like in theory you could just double up on the pads on a whatever, but I think you really want to have separate pads. You don't want to run like 240 pixels off of like the normal pads.
What do you mean by that?
Like your regular pixel blade, like you could just put 2 strips off of one connection on that, right?
You're talking about the hilt side connection or
No,
the
the
blade
blade side. Well, both. Like I just don't think like you want that much current going through like that one little pad would maybe not be enough.
I see.
I don't know. We'll do tests. We'll test it out.
Okay.
Yeah, just go for 6.
Yeah, now we're talking. Oh my god. Don't even put a blade over. It's just gonna melt the plastic anyway. Just leave the LED strips sticking out.
Yeah.
Hold them up with a little iron rod or something metal.
Anthony, did you ever try to do like a cob blade?
A cob?
Yeah, like that's I don't know if I have something around here.
Are those filaments? Those light filaments?
Yeah, they do it like that also.
I want to.
Like back before people started working on, I know I have them around here. I just don't know where they are. Like before people started doing pixel blades, I don't know. There was a group of people, and I was one of them, looking at doing like the cobs because they come in like meter length. Like it's like one continuous LED basically.
Oh. No, maybe I'm not familiar with that because I'm familiar with those like those filaments that they have in like the LED light bulbs, which you would have to put them together yourself. Though
it's the same technology, but like
is that scrolling though, or that's on off?
So there's different ones. Like one of our original ideas, the group that we were talking about this, was going to make it basically like a string blade. So you'd have segments, like you get smaller ones. So say you get like, like 5-inch segments, whatever made sense.
Oh, I see. And wire it like the string blade.
Yeah. The trick with those is they're all 12 volt. So then you need at least 10 volts to get them to turn on.
What about this old Hyperblade battery? Look how big it is. Like this.
Right.
This would not
like
fit a shorty.
Yeah, you need a two-hander.
This is like technically 11.1 volts, but when you fully charge it, well, now it's about 10 or 12 years old, so I don't even know if it'll pop if I plugged it in. But when it's fully charged, it'd be like 12.1.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But their
no, I
operating
actually
ranges.
always thought that that was the key for the ultimate in brightness, because of Gary of Bespin Custom Props, Bombarda. He gave me the idea like 7 or 8 years ago. He goes, "Hey, how about the car LEDs?" I was like, But I knew that that would have to be 12
Yeah.
volt, like you said.
It's like I have I don't know where the hell they are.
But when
I
them
have, like,
car
little-
lights are coming at you, like those daytime running lights,
Yeah.
that's bright.
Yeah,
That
and that, like,
right.
some of the cobs, like that, some of those cars have like accent lights that are cobs, like little cob modules, which are one of the things that I have around here. But and I got like battery chips to run like the 3 cells, and I was gonna make my own 3 cell packs, but then I just started doing pixel blades and never looked back.
Oh wow. Is that because it was just easier to work with?
Yeah, you just have a single battery.
Yeah.
And like me and Anthony have been talking a long time about doing like a series of sort of educational videos about building lightsabers, and like one of the things was like batteries, fact and fiction,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And it's like with pixels, everybody's like, but it needs to have 5 volts. It's like, it doesn't need to have 5 volts. Actually, they hate being run on 5 volts. Pixels run best at around 3.8 volts. So your lithium cell is actually perfect. If you run it over that, they just get hotter. They don't get brighter, really.
Yeah.
Anybody who's seen my pixel board, which Anthony's seen in person, like I have like a 20 amp 5 volt power supply, but I hacked it to run at 3.7 volts. Like it just, and then I still run the pixels like at like a maximum of 5% because it's got 1800 pixels just blasting you in the face.
Oh my god. Let's put 1800 in a blade.
Yeah, it's insane. Like, well, my window is this way and the board is that way, and my parking spot's actually 3 blocks away. And when my pixel board's on and like the highest brightness on it is 5 out of 255, you can see it from 3 blocks away. You can
That's what I'm talking about.
It's too bright.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Now,
JJ
how can we
Jeffers-
fit that in a shorty blade?
Yeah. well, the shorty blades are like brighter. I think like, isn't it brighter like almost the shorter you make your blade?
It depends on your battery. Like if you have a battery that's able to run your blade, it doesn't matter. But so like the 3500 cells have a higher capacity, but don't pump out as much current as the 3150 cells. This the amp hours.
Mm-hmm.
So like people say the 3150, like TCS says the 3150 cells are better. Well, they're only better if you think that having the maximum current's better. I personally feel like the maximum current isn't necessarily better, because that just means it's going to be hotter and not run as long. The other thing is like that current space only really matters if you're running like white. If you're running just 1 or 2 colors, it's not really an issue.
Yeah, for white or yellow, it would really matter. JJ Jeffers says, so do you know what the running on time for a TriStar on a 26650 or a 21700? I actually don't. I haven't.
Yeah.
I don't have a TriStar for myself to test. I usually just make it to order and send it out, and I haven't like left a customer Saber on until it died with it in there.
Yeah, it also matters on the color.
That's true.
Like there's just so many variables. I mean, both of those, like 26650s and 21700s, both are like the 5000 milliamp hour, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But I think
5000 was the one I held up before.
I think the 21700s can pump out more current, which is why they use them in the Teslas. But yeah, I mean, you could have a 18650 outrun your 21.
I think Jason may have frozen.
700.
I think you may have like robotic for a
Yeah.
second, unless that was me.
The well, everybody went to spinny circles on my screen, so it's probably me, or I guess it was actually probably you. Yeah, so I would say it's just too complicated. I can't answer you. But I mean, I've built things specifically to test stuff like that, but like Anthony, I don't have a TriStar blade to test. So Anthony's
Usually when I make a TriStar, people are emailing saying, when is my TriStar going to ship out? So I usually don't hold it for longer than I need it to test. So I haven't tried that test yet. Jake Soft says, I really enjoyed Force Unleashed. Starkiller was such a wrecking ball. And that Saber now, come on. Yeah, that was a fun, intense game. I just thought that one was too short. I had a great time with it, like throwing stormtroopers off of the ledge. And
I felt like he was too powerful.
Yeah, they kind of gave a few reasons, but I mean, you're absolutely right. Like, and then the name, Force Unleashed. So it's like, they kind of set it up that way, and the trailer and all. But yeah, I mean.
So I don't remember. Was he supposed to be like a clone or a splice or something, or was he just a dude?
I think he was the clone of a Force-sensitive little boy. I can't remember how it went exactly, or maybe that was the second game, and the first game was he like a real dude.
In the new canon, clones can't be Force powerful.
No, well, even in the wait, they can't be at all.
That's what I.
Oh, because like in the original like books and stuff, it's like when there was a clone of someone who was Force sensitive, it was a problem. Like they got degraded quicker, and they were crazy, and they had a lot of problems. They didn't really live that long.
Like in the Zahn trilogy. Timothy Zahn trilogy, the Heir to the Empire,
Heir to the Empire, first book of that series.
Was
Joris Seaboth or something. He was like a clone, and then you could actually read about. Yeah, he was crazy, and then like a bunch of years later, like 10 or 15 or 20 years later, Timothy Zahn wrote a book called Outbound Flight, and you can actually see that character in his true form, like his true self was this like the protagonist of that book for the most part.
Yeah, and I think Anthony's the only person that's really seen this saber, but this is kind of like inspired by what I imagined that character would wield as a lightsaber.
That's pretty cool.
I think that's the one where the emitter you said wasn't even metal, right?
Yeah, it's 3D printed.
That looks awesome, though.
That's crazy because it does look metal.
Other than like the 3 obvious MHS parts, everything else is 3D printed. Like, the D rings, copper I made, but this is 3D printed. All the trim rings and these details in the grip are all 3D printed.
That's pretty nice.
I think Mark Fael is talking about the arcade game you mentioned. They should make an arcade game with the replica chair in the Falcon that moves around. Is that one from back in the day?
Are any of you guys fans of The Last Starfighter?
No, I want to watch it though.
Oh my god,
I haven't seen it.
Man, I like that was.
I've seen it, but it was 20 or so years ago. I don't remember.
It's like a movie that I've watched my whole life. It's like I love that movie. Is it great? I don't know.
Do you have any props that you made from it?
No.
What's a prop that they use, like a blaster gun?
Well, he's the last starfighter.
So it's mostly about the airplane.
Yeah, but so the premise is he's a guy that he's graduating high school. He lives at a trailer park and he's responsible for taking care of everybody. And they have an arcade game on their trailer park called Starfighter, and he breaks the record and beats it. And it turns out that was a recruitment tool, and somebody comes and takes him out to space to go save the galaxy.
Oh.
And it's fun. It's like short. It's not overly complex. A lot of people say it's a Star Wars ripoff. Emily says it's fine. But I loved it. I have a lot of my friends that are like around our age that really loved it. But I think you had to have seen it when you were, 8 or 9 to like really truly love it. This year they came out with a remastered Blu-ray. That when it came in the mail, my father saw it and he was jealous. My mother got it for me for Christmas, and my mother was like, "Don't open that, it's for you." And then my father's like, was very excited because he saw it, and then found out that it wasn't for him. Like my father's a big sci-fi nerd.
Yeah.
So, like, he was really into Marvel comics. So.
Star Trek.
Star Trek too, yeah.
Jeremy King says, say what you want about Episode 1. Star Wars Episode 1 Racer is still an excellent game. Controls are so tight. The best racing game on the Nintendo 64. I remember, I don't think I played that one. Maybe I did. But I remember there was an Episode 1 game that you were like the Jedi, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Qui-Gon if you had another player with you. I think it was called... it was like Episode 1 Battle something. That was sick because like you stormed. It was like you did different things, and in the movie, like you did more of the battles on Naboo between the battle droids and the Jedi, and you were the Jedi, and you could play at the same time on the same screen with your friend. If they were in the room. That was an awesome one.
Pretty cool. All right, guys. I don't mean to cut you off. I got to head up, though. I got something to do before hitting the bed to get up for work tomorrow. So I'll let you guys keep doing your thing.
All right, Gabe. We'll probably wrap this up pretty soon anyway. But thanks for being here.
No, thanks for having me. It was awesome to see you guys, JB. Good to talk to you, bro.
Yeah.
We'll see you again. All right, we'll see you.
All right, later, Gabe.
Yeah, I'll go on the record that I have no problem with Episode 1. It was fine. It wasn't the movie that you wanted, but it was fine. It was a kid's movie. If you just look at it as being a kid's movie, it was fun. It did whatever it needed to do. And, the other two movies were awful, though. So they get nothing. But it's
I
funny,
liked Episode 1 in the theater, too, a lot. I had a great time.
Like, the funny thing is, like, everybody in the community, like, loves hating on the prequels. Yet all of the lore, all the costumes, everything everybody puts into the hobby is all based off of the prequels.
Yeah.
So
I just watched them all this weekend again. I just watched them all with when Harris was over working on his Saber. Yeah. We had the movies.
The thing that was so striking to me was that Episode 3 felt so empty. Like the sound design was very flat. The imagery was all very flat. It was it was just like I don't know. It was kind of worse than I remember it because I didn't remember it, that aspect of it, until I tried rewatching it a couple of years ago.
And now with these updated versions that they got on like Disney Plus, where it's like the Blu-ray quality, those are I'm not used to those. So when we were playing those, I was like, whoa, this is different than I remembered, because I actually almost like the blurry DVD version better.
Well, I don't know if you remember when like the remastered VHS came out, and like so you're watching it like on like we still had CRTs, but like you had your good CRT TV, and like the remastered VHS. You see like the TIE fighter moving across the screen, and there's a box.
There's a
of,
box
like,
that kind of rotates around it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and the blurriness. That's why it wasn't ready for that.
But I
You need-
watched that all the time too. I watched that original one, and I play it on my DVD player. And those boxes don't bother me. They don't
Well,
bother me.
that's you got to get the despecialized editions.
Oh, I see. Yeah, they took all that stuff out.
Yeah, so it's like the original theatrical versions, in HD, and like the guy did an awesome job remastering it off of. Some of it's off of film transfer, some of it's off of the Blu-rays. He did an awesome job, and that's all I watch.
Oh yeah, Jedi power battles, Excelsior sabers. JJ says yes, Jedi power battles. Yeah, that was the one where you were like Episode 1. You were Obi-Wan Kenobi or Qui-Gon, and you kind of stormed the Naboo castle. Trying to save everyone, and you deflected laser beams. You had the lightsaber, the droidicas rolled up. It was awesome. It was like a 3D type of look to it too. Yeah, I think so too. Emily says John Williams did well with Episode 2. I love the soundtrack to all the movies, even like the new ones. I bought the soundtrack. They're good soundtracks.
Yeah, like there's things I liked about the movies. Like even though, like I've tried so hard, I cannot sit through The Last Jedi. There's parts of the movie I genuinely like. It's just overall like that. It was supposed to be a bridge movie, and he decided he needed to end everything in his own film, and that doesn't work when you're making a trilogy.
Yeah. TK Boomer says, I got a question for you. Sure, what's the question?
Yeah, hit us.
Emily says, I took part in Lucas's campaign to call your local theater to tell them that digital was the way of the future for the prequels. Oh, okay. So that's part of the paving the way to get them to be HD at the theater, because they filmed them in HD. That's amazing. Yeah.
Like
Get them to be shown.
On that topic, like with Star Trek, part of the problem, they did the whole original series, the Next Generation, and like beautiful HD versions, but they can't do that with DS9 and Voyager, because even though some of it was shot on film, it was all immediately transferred to like NTSC digital.
Oh, so what, the sides are missing off of it?
Yeah. Well, there's just no, it's all in horrible quality. Like all of the graphics, the other series were done mostly with models shot on film. DS9 was done almost exclusively digitally, but it was all done in like, 480p or even less than that, because it was made for crappy NTSC television.
I've been watching that. I'm in the middle of that one. I'm in the middle of the original series too.
Yeah, I love DS9. It was, I like story-driven stuff, and it was the first Star Trek to have the guts to go story mode.
I thought it was pretty bold to set their show on this weird outpost station that had nothing going for it, and then all of a sudden they had something very unique in that wormhole, and all the stories were, at least where I'm at right now. I remember the show. I don't know if I watched it all when it came out, but I'm in like season 3 right now, I think.
So when it starts getting good.
Like the story seems small though for now. It's about like the guy's kids, or it's about like people trying to be thieves, to each other. People trying to get over on other governments. Like not too much like we got to save the world type of stuff just yet, at least.
Yeah, I mean, the show was so good. Like they've addressed themes that were never addressed before, and like, you had a single father who had like a openly loving, caring relationship with his son. Like those are two things that you never saw on TV before, and you still don't see single dads. Like unless it's a whole joke, it's not like there's no like serious, like loving, compassionate relationship between a single dad and his kid. Because if you're a dude, you're just supposed to go out and bang chicks and murder people. But like Cisco has always been one of my favorite characters in anything.
He's great. The only people I don't like in the show are the Bajorans. I think the Bajorans are
sick. And the documentary, What They Left Behind, that was released a couple of years ago. I think it's on. I don't know what it's on, but it's streaming now. It's pretty good. You definitely don't want to watch it if you don't want spoilers, but.
Okay, so after I'm done with DS9, watch that documentary.
Yeah, I think it's What They Left Behind, and they do like sort of like spitball a theoretical season 8, which you might not agree with all of their story points, but it's just like some of the writers get in a room and just like brainstorm in one day how they would like storyboard season 8. There's something. Oh man, there's something I wanted to ask you tonight, and now I can't remember. Oh well.
Well, think about it for a second. Jeremy King says, just watched a really good talk with Mike Verta about a proper 4K restoration of the original trilogy. Harmy did the despecialized and did a great job. And there are a few other projects, but check out Mike Verta. Okay, I will. I'll write that down. Because like all weekend long, I'm telling you guys, I watch something Star Wars while I'm working on lightsabers, while I'm building blades. So yeah, there was I'm still not done with it yet, but there was a few weekends there where I was listening to the radio show, and that is awesome because it's like it takes each movie, which is like 2 hours, 2.5 hours, and they become about 4 hours with the extra content of the radio show. And Mark Hamill, some other people who are actually in the movie are the voice actors of the radio show. So it's pretty awesome.
Didn't somebody do like a minute by minute, like each episode was a minute of the film?
Like are you talking about where people reconstructed the movie in like 15 seconds?
I could be wrong, but I think somebody did like a review that was a minute at a time of each film.
Oh, I don't know.
It might not have been Star Wars, but somebody did that for something. I feel like it was Star Wars.
Yeah, Excelsior Saber says my one big criticism of Revenge of the Sith is that the youngling scene didn't make sense that Anakin would go full psychopath that quickly. Yeah, it seemed too abrupt. I thought they should have done all that stuff, all the stuff of turning dark in episode 2. I thought that would have been better, and maybe.
And Obi-Wan was a real shitty teacher. Like, come on, like, the dude's like breaking all the rules. He's obviously has this romantic relationship going on. He's keeping it on the DL. It's like,
Well, didn't he like try to be friends with Anakin rather than trying to be a guide for him? Because it seemed like, at least when they kicked off episode 2, that they were just like laughing friends and not really like, it's kind of it gives an example of maybe why you shouldn't try to be like friends with your kids too early.
Yeah, I mean, he was old enough to be his dad, so
like wait until they're like 30 to try to be their friend.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, like, my parents are my friends, like, at this point in my life, like, I hang out with my parents because I enjoy hanging out with them.
TK Boomer says, if you made it a little bit thicker in the blade, could you add focal points to make it brighter? Just a little thicker, would that help brightness maybe? You know, Makoto has these blade tubes that are thicker than 1 inch. They're like 1.25. And, you know, if there was like easy way to make emitters for that, you know, that is a way to add more lights in there.
Yeah.
And even like more diffusion, more foam. I have a couple of those tubes.
I've had different ideas to do things. We'll talk about those some other time. I have well, you know, I have plenty of nuts ideas. But like I did my blade that's like coated in the silicon to give it like the proto blade or I guess the Kylo and modern,
like unstable look to it.
And I mean, it does make the blade look much fuller because it has another layer of diffusion, and since parts of it are thicker and thinner, it does give it like a much more textured look. Like I really like it.
Excelsior says, I stopped watching the sequel trilogy after sitting through the 2.5-hour insult that was The Last Jedi. Yeah, I feel the same way. I wasn't excited anymore after that one.
I think Emily is actually teaching class now, so I don't think she's in the chat anymore. But so we were in the middle of moving when The Last Jedi came out, and I had been up for like 36 hours. And we're sitting there, and I was also sick. And the movie starts, and it starts with a 20-minute prank call.
Yeah, and like Yo Mama jokes.
I'm not kidding. I thought I passed out and was dreaming it because it couldn't possibly be real. It's like I was literally looking around the theater like this, like I couldn't believe that everybody was just sitting there and taking this. I thought for sure they were gonna turn off the movie. Sorry guys, this is all a joke. We didn't finish the movie yet. Come back in a month. Like I could not in that moment accept what was going on was real. So then I've also tried to watch the movie where I just like skip past that whole scene, but there's just so much that sucks in that movie.
Yeah, there really is.
Like
when you start looking at the details, see, for me, Star Wars is about there's like a spectacle aspect to it. So it's like this there's like something big usually happens in a Star Wars movie, so you're watching it for that maybe, but also you could rewatch and you'll always see kind of more, like you can go deeper. And then with these newer ones, it seems like the deeper you go, the more it's actually revealed. Yeah, you realize like, oh my God, like I'm thinking about this more than the makers of this, which is the fucking problem. Oh my God, you know? So it's like original movies, it's like they thought everything through. Therefore, when you go to inspect it through and through, like you can't really find anything that like got cracks. But when you inspect these newer ones through and through and start to inspect, you realize, wait a second, like I'm actually putting more time and effort into this inspection than they even did to make this.
Well, I mean, it was a huge problem that they had a different creator for the second film that had a different vision. You just can't let that happen. You know, it's like we learned back in the originals, you know, stay on target. And like I have friends who like cannot believe I don't like The Last Jedi. It's their favorite movie. But like, you know, it's visually striking. But like, you know, the throne room fight with the whatever the hell it was. Yeah, Jedi Arms Dealers knows what's up. So speaking of that, I just watched The Last Starfighter again because I got the Blu-ray and I saw so much that I never saw in it.
Wow, really?
And it's a more shallow story, but there's still more details to pick up because it had great world building. So even if the story wasn't like super complex, it was obvious that they spent time thinking about everything that went into the film. But going back to The Last Jedi, like the throne room fight sequence, the choreography was terrible. Like people love that scene. Like if you watch it, like,
and I saw the breakdown.
guys
I'm
are like,
which made it look so silly. Oh,
it was even
terrible.
like the guy's
Once
like
they,
flopping on
zoom
his
in
ass
on
with
the
that,
certain-
like, oh man, it was so bad. Every
Terrible.
move was telegraphed. It was so
People
bad.
like pull their knife away and their sword away when like the main character approaches.
Yeah, it's like when 8-year-olds are pretend sword fighting.
Yeah.
But
Jedi
trying
Arms
not
Dealer
to
is
actually hit
here.
each other.
What's up, mad scientists? What's up? One of the greatest mad scientists in the state of California, Jedi Arms Dealer in the entire U.S. Oh, Babylon 5 wasn't as good as DS9, huh? I heard great things about Babylon 5, but I didn't watch. Also, a good retro series from the 90s worth a rewatch or first time. Huh.
I watched parts of it. I never watched the whole thing, but there was good story points in that.
Yeah, you do need a number in the title. You're making a space series at a space station.
I have friends who were also like big Farscape fans. I recently tried to watch a couple episodes of that, and it does not hold up to the modern the modern eye.
Yeah, the mama jokes in The Last Jedi were awful. TK, terrible.
Oh, God. No, I don't. It's just like an endless pit to like get into criticizing that movie. And like,
I just, what I didn't like most about the movie is the Force overdosing, which they continued to the next movie. In my opinion, you don't overdose in the Force, and you don't overdose in the Force if you're Luke Skywalker. That's the stupidest.
Yeah,
plot.
I mean the Luke Skywalker part. Obviously, Mark Hamill.
He warned us. He complained about it from early on. In some, there was a lot of interviews happening where he was like, "This isn't going to be the Luke Skywalker you guys expect," and I was like, what does he mean by that? But I had high hopes for the movie because I heard that they're like, oh, we're keeping the suits far away. We're letting this director do what he wants. We're not interfering with what he wants to do. So I'm like, okay, well, that sounds promising, because I went to watch the other movie that he made, the sci-fi movie with Bruce Willis, and I thought it was good. I was happy. So I was like, okay, this guy could make something out of that, make something cool here. And just didn't go that way.
And like, I don't even know the name of the third movie, the Final Skywalker or whatever the hell it was called. It was like, on one hand I give it a pass because like he basically had to start from scratch.
Yeah, like they didn't have much to work with at that point, right?
But it was still like absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Like
I could have taken that garbage and I think made something better out of that, but they made it even more convoluted, and even the style of displaying the action, like displaying the content, displaying the edits. I guess it was the editing. It was so jarring. Like I just recently watched it over the holidays and on a big like 65-inch TV at my dad's house, and I was like, let me try this movie because I missed the first hour in the theater. I was late. It's like let's check out this movie, and like it was like I was like getting like jarred. I was like having to close my eyes. I was like there was flashing lights. It was like and they did have like a seizure warning on it, but it was just like I feel like if you can't tell your story properly, this editing is not gonna. This flashiness is not gonna fix it.
Like for all of the new movies, except for Solo that came out in a different time of year. But me and Emily always worked an event on opening night, and it was like one of her big paying events that she couldn't skip. So we always scheduled our viewing and theater around when she would be able to get out of work to go see it and what would be close for her to get to. And we went with my buddy Mike, and that was our deal. But by the time the third one came out, we were all just like, I don't know, it's going to be on the screen. We're going to watch it. Like, also, the first movie I saw in a theater was Return of the Jedi, which my parents took me out of school to see. And so I've seen all of the new Star Wars movies except for The Last Jedi and the Skywalker one, because I just cannot ever watch The Last Jedi again. So
I know.
it's like, but I don't know. All that being said, my favorite Star Wars movie is Rogue One.
Is what?
Rogue One.
Oh yeah.
It's the best movie. Well, it's maybe not my favorite Star Wars movie, but it is, in my opinion, the best movie that is a Star Wars movie.
Oh, okay.
Like, if it was a different setting, and if it wasn't Star Wars, it would still be a great movie. Like, it was just a really good war drama.
I watched that one the other day too.
I like The Force Awakens. Like, yeah, it was like an inch deep, but it was supposed to be setting up the trilogy. It wasn't supposed to be accomplishing things. Like, was A New Hope all that deep? It didn't have to do a lot, but ultimately they just threw it in the trash with the second movie anyway.
Yeah. Jeremy King says, I agree with JB. I was heartbroken after The Last Jedi. Pushed me into reading all of the old expanded universe novels, through which I love now. Oh, that's awesome. There's a plus to it. I've heard that from other people too. And I was already into the expanded universe books, but that's so awesome that like this turn of the movies getting kind of creepy has pushed people into checking out the older content. So that's awesome. Kyberphonic is here. What's going on, Jesse? Good to see you. JJ is asking, I like your comments on TLJ. What do you feel about Mando? What do you feel about Mando?
I love it. It's so good.
Are you rewatching that at all, or is like the one watch good enough for you? How are you playing that so far?
I haven't rewatched it. Well, I've had a lot of stuff going on in my life, and the other thing is Emily's work means that she's like taking up a lot of our living room time. But I have put a little TV in my office, but it's not like sitting down and watching Mando size.
I
TV.
recently listened to the soundtrack, especially from the final couple episodes there. It was good. I like the soundtrack too.
So to tie it all together a little bit, I once in a while, as a sort of guilty pleasure, I watch crappy Star Wars fan theory videos, which I mostly hate and throw popcorn at the screen. But one of the theories is that the final episode of Mando proves that the sequel trilogy was an alternate timeline that didn't actually happen in the timeline that we're all familiar with. And I don't really believe that, but it's the reality I live in. So
yeah, I mean, like I have that already going on in my head canon, but I don't think that they are officially doing that. It is a cool thought.
But like, Luke acted like Luke. And sorry, spoiler alert, if anybody hasn't seen that yet. But that's not my fault. You had plenty of time to do it. Yeah, I love Mandalorian. Like, I love samurai and westerns. Like, well, a lot of westerns are based on samurai films, and in theory, Star Wars is partially based on samurai films as well. So it was just like, if you ever watched Zatoichi, it was like kind of in that same mood. Anthony, do you know Zatoichi?
No.
He's the blind swordsman. There's something like 28 films. I mean, to say it's like the Japanese James Bond is only just because like there's
Oh.
decades worth of films that were related to it, and a couple of modern ones. But I really like them. I think I have all of them, or I had all of them.
Excelsior Saber says TLJ, the whole sequel trilogy was like they sat down in a room, wrote down exactly what they knew the fans wanted to see, and made sure they gave us the opposite.
I think people argue that The Force Awakens was just fan service. I don't completely buy that, but the Last Jedi, I feel like Rian Johnson was trying to prove that he was going to make his own film, and like he made the film about him, not about Star Wars.
Yeah, that's the selfish problem at the root core.
So yes, part of it is that he directly contradicted things that you wanted to see as part of proving, like, imposing himself on the
World's
story.
worst troll.
Yeah.
World's worst troll. TLJ Luke isn't a hero. He's a coward loser. He can only lightsaber fight as a Force hologram and not in person. Then he dies.
Like, that scene I liked. I enjoyed that scene.
But
I
that not
whole
the dying part
fun.
Afterward. Hopefully,
it was
like
fine. Like
in the books, he did stuff like that and didn't die afterwards. Like he could do that and then not actually have a Force overdose. You know,
I thought that was fine for the story. I thought it was fine. I think it sucked, much like Mark Hamill has said a million times, that he and Harrison Ford never got to have a scene together.
All three of them weren't together in any scene.
Yeah.
You know, they never put them together in The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
They hid Luke away on another planet.
Yeah. Like that. Oh man, like that film ended, and like, yeah, there was not like a lot of meat on the bones, but it ended with such promise. And we talked about this in your last live stream, that there were so many ways the story could have gone.
You talking about from The Force Awakens ending?
Yeah. Like, I know Mark Hamill wasn't thrilled with that. He had no lines in the silent ending. But if they did something with that, if like the next film built on that scene, instead of he threw the thing over his shoulder and then they just took a big dump on everything that anybody ever thought was a good idea, it had so much promise. And I watched The Force Awakens probably, I don't know, 30, 40 times. Yes, I have. He should do that, and then I should use it because I have ideas.
Jeremy King says TLJ, I think he's talking about TLJ is garbage. Doesn't matter how much Disney money you throw at a movie to make it look pretty. Gotta have a good heart and a good story. Yeah, you gotta have the good story part first, and then
like, you know,
maybe
Mando
add the
was
glitz.
great.
All the glitz even almost had me fooled for a little while. That almost had me fooled. All the glitz, all the glamour. But you know, when you really look at it, it's like, I don't know.
I feel bad because one of my friends at some point said that The Last Jedi was their favorite movie, and basically I convinced them that it was the worst. And it's like, I hate talking about it usually because people want to tell me what I didn't like about it, and you know, it's like those aren't the things I didn't like. Like the Mary Poppins scene, great, I loved it.
I actually liked that scene.
Yeah.
That was the only part that I liked because I liked that I thought they finally recognized Leia as a powerful Force user,
it made sense in what you
She's
know
Darth
about Star
Vader's
Wars.
daughter, but it's almost like not out of the blue, like not the way they do it, not how they got there, because they got there cheaply, but it did work for like for instance in one of the books it would have been fine because they've established Leia as a Force user. People call her Lady Vader. People call her Darth Vader's daughter. They kind of know it. In the movies, they haven't earned doing stuff like that because they just don't show enough highlight on these people's like powers. They just want to show them sitting there or just acting old and stupid and saying that their husband, oh, my husband left me, or he's back to doing what he originally did 40 years ago for some reason.
Yeah.
He's smuggling again. It's like this is a weird script. You know what I mean? Like to say that
Ryan
he's
Johnson
back to
sucks.
smuggling and I don't know that
But
like
Mundo, I just want to stop talking about The Last Jedi. Mundo, I kind of felt like Rogue One was the Star Wars Last Seven Samurai. It's like maybe more like the Magnificent Seven, which was the lesser Seven Samurai. Yeah. I didn't have a problem with him dying. I know I don't have to agree with everyone, and everyone doesn't have to agree with me.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with the actions of dying. I just have a problem with how we got there. It's not
the rest of the movie.
Blaze of glory that I expected. It's like finding a bum in a trash can and they died in the trash can. It's not a glory type of glory death that Luke Skywalker deserves, our greatest hero from 40 years.
It's like if you look at see Jake's comment there about Disney made a mistake thinking that when we grew up, Star Wars was a religion. The Force is actually a recognized religion in some places. And if you look at the Last Jedi and the Final Skywalker, whatever the hell it's called, those are not movies that inspire people to form a religion. They don't.
There wasn't enough
they don't say
to them.
anything.
Yeah, they don't say anything at all. They just say give us your money. Give us your money, people. But it's without those fans that are going to keep coming back for more, you stick that movie over in China and I think it made $20 million and
because they don't care.
In an instant that it's trash.
Yeah. They're
like, we don't have nostalgia for this. This is garbage.
Yeah. And like the Han Solo movie, I thought, it was 50% of a great movie.
Yeah.
All of the double dealing and stuff like that was great. I don't remember the name of the character. I've only watched it the one time in the theater. It was overall, it was something you watched on TBS on Saturday back in the day. It was like a Godzilla movie.
You're talking about that last one?
Han Solo.
Oh, Han Solo.
I'm not emotionally invested in it. It was enjoyable. There were 45 minutes of it that I wish were expanded to the full 2 hours to be a really good movie. Yes, I think it would have been funny.
All right, well, I think we're going to wrap up the show,
Sounds good.
close down the stream pretty soon.
We got me an hour past my bedtime.
Well, I thank you for doing this, JB. I was so happy to see those designs and be able to talk to you. And I know we could have done it on the phone in the background, but I thought that it'd be more fun if everyone could see how that stuff happens behind the scenes with the lightsaber stuff. And, it's kind of easy when me and you work together, because it's like, you know, you make something awesome and it's like I'm like saying great. So you're not seeing too much of a process of like back and forth of like edits or anything like that, because we just really like what JB does and stuff like that. So you know, there's not too much back and forth, but the products are working awesome for us. You know, I make blades with those just the chips to make normal blades with, like, all the time, and then obviously I use the TriStar ones for the TriStars. That works awesome. So maybe we'll do a we'll try to work out some kind of quad core chip that I could use, and in the meantime we'll make those shorty chassis and get those out there.
Yeah, I mean, for whatever the next batch of chips we order, there's no reason we can't order quads and penta and hexa, whatever the hell we want.
Yeah, or like the maybe those potential for those different type of blade plugs like you were talking about that have a powerful light instead of 5 neopixels. That might be something. It's almost like we might have a solution to a problem we didn't know we had, but we could figure out something to use that for. I think that would be an awesome thing to light up a crystal with, I think, too, something that powerful.
Yeah. I mean, that's it, like with the blade plug chips, I've one of these sabers, that's how I lit up my crystal, is I just soldered to the pads on the back of the chip. Like I saw.
I've done that a few times too, to power crystal chambers and different things inside the hilt. Jeremy King, thank you so much for being here. Thanks everyone that was in the chat. Excelsior Saber says, good chat, guys. I'll keep following your work. Look forward to seeing what you make next. Thank you. Yeah, follow JB at the Mad Science Workshop. He's got awesome stuff. I'll put the link in the description to his channel if it's not already there right after the video.
I'm really most active on FX Sabers forum and Instagram, where I post a lot of different stuff, but that's like the one thing where I really post regularly is Instagram, where it's JBKuma.
Awesome. Yeah. JBKuma is part of the mining colony. Is that what it's called? FX Sabers, right? We're part of the mining colony.
Yeah.
Just like I am over at FX Sabers. So if you love lightsabers, go join FX Sabers. It's free. Let's see. Jedi
Excelsior Sabers, for the Lux meter, send me a message.
Oh yeah, JB's got an awesome Lux meter design that he made for me. Curious what the newest mad scientist thought about project JBKuma is having, but hasn't started yet.
I mean, there's different one every minute, so
he's got a lot of ideas.
Some of them are secret for reasons. You know what? I'll show a saber that nobody else has seen before. And so this is something I started working on a few years ago. This is, it's got a built-in screen. This is my Fallout, what I'm calling the PIP saber. So this is a 3D printed emitter, and the box here is all 3D printed, and so's the grip. And this is actually not 3D printed, but it's from something else.
I can see Darth Vader inspired emitter.
Yeah, like definitely inspired, not exactly the same, but inspired. But yeah, this is like a
working screen.
Yeah, so it's got no electronics in it at the moment, but it has a whole menu system. There may be a video up demoing it on my channel. Maybe not. It might be taken down because I took a lot of stuff down at some point. But yeah, figuring out how to make a screen work in your lightsaber, that was fun. And actually, it was like really hard when I first did it with just an Arduino before like some of these more advanced boards became popular. So I'm like just completely redoing it now. Actually, none of the parts you see here were in my original build of it. I totally redid everything. So, and I'm still, some of these parts are now going to get replaced. But yeah, that's probably the one thing I have on my bench that I can show. That's an old thing. That's like a 4-year-old idea. I don't know. It's been a crazy year for me, so I didn't really have a lot of time for Saber stuff. Kind of grateful to you for asking me to help with the chassis on the Saber, because it let me kind of like get back in the mood.
Oh, I'm so happy then. That's good. Thank you for doing it. It's looking so good, and took it to such a higher level than I thought originally that it was going to be. You know, I just thought, you know, he'll make me a plastic chassis and that'll be the end of it. But all these connections and different ways that it's going to work for me and for the customer is going to be great. It's going to be so much more professional that way. So thank you for taking it to that level.
Yeah, it incorporates, like, you know, in the last year I haven't necessarily built or physically designed things, but you know, I'm always designing things up here. So it's incorporating a lot of the ideas that I've had over the last year. And what you didn't see in part of my design process, because you can't see everything in my window, is like I start designing it and I get to a point and then I just start over because like I change it so much that I realize it's easier to just start from scratch and have it designed properly the first time. So I'll like redo it like 3 or 4 times in like different files, because once I modify it to a point, I know there's like a better way to lay it out so it's easier to modify.
Like, I think this was a different file than what you showed tonight, but this, you said this to me a couple days ago.
Yeah, it's the same one.
I think you updated even more or something, or this one looks more detailed maybe. I don't know.
It's just showing different
aspects of that.
Yeah.
Different cutout or something. Looks cool.
Yeah.
Shows like all the working bits. You know, almost like a 3D. Very cool.
Yeah, being able to, like, well, I have a lot of the TCSS parts now just in my like stock parts, so I can drop them in, and it's just like, it's, for me, it's so much easier to do it that way, to visualize all the parts together. Yeah, I mean, when you're designing chassis and stuff, you have to do that. But I know Gabe was talking about he needed a chassis for something.
Yeah, what was he thinking? Oh no, Harris was thinking of his Star. I think it's called Starfire lightsaber. We'll have him show it to you. Or we'll have me you know, measure it or something next time he's here. All right, good night, Jake. We're actually going to be out of here in 1 second too. Thank you so much for staying up with us tonight. It is midnight here on the East Coast, and we're going to get out of here as well. So everybody can show up at work tomorrow that needs to be there. And thank you again for joining us tonight. And JB, we'll be in touch. You know, we'll keep in touch about that chassis stuff and about the other stuff. Definitely want to move forward with all of that good stuff, so we can get that lightsaber out of here this year. That'd be awesome. Because you got to plan early when it's January, because all of a sudden, like Monday it's February, and then the next time you turn around it's March and stuff like that. So
yeah, that's why, like, even though we were going to talk about it tonight, I got to plow through just like getting the major points down, you know, to get the process moving. Yeah.
Well, you're always working like so fast, and as soon as I tell you something, it's like all of a sudden the next time I turn around I have like a design or a drawing to look at. So it's so cool.
Yeah. For me, like most of my Saber projects, it's like I finish it in a weekend, or it's 4 years later. It's still on my bench. All right.
Well, thanks again. Have a great night.
Thank you.
I'll talk to you guys next time.
Thanks, everybody.
Saber the moment. Have a great night, everybody.
I have something here for you. It's the weapon of a Jedi.